Imagine a job fair, but instead of networking and free pens, everyone is lining up to learn how to become a literal demon. Welcome to the demonic Murim Alliance, where the only requirement for entry is having a pulse and enough potential to not die during orientation. The hype is real because the Demon Palace is promising to teach anyone their forbidden arts regardless of their background.
But while everyone is dreaming of power, the crowd spots a young undertaker walking in, making them wonder if the competition already claimed its first victim before even starting.
Meet our main character, Yunseal, a guy who looks like he has not slept since the Han Dynasty and carries a wooden box that definitely does not contain a lunch kit. He is an orphan who was literally found in a snowbank, proving that if you want to be a manhwa protagonist, you better have a tragic origin story involving frostbite. While the NPCs are busy judging his fashion sense, the sharp-eyed pros in the crowd notice something terrifying. This kid might look like a beanpole, but his left leg is more defined than a bodybuilder on a protein-only diet, signaling he is a hidden master of a lightning-fast sword style. Yunseal was raised by his grandfather, a man who taught him that being an undertaker is more than just burying bodies, it is about reading the stories the dead leave behind. Grandpa was clearly the only person who did not find it weird to raise a child in a morgue, but hey, it builds character. Our boy starts reminiscing about a specific night when his grandfather decided to play the world's most messed up game of hide-and-seek. He told Yunseal to play dead and stay perfectly still until sunrise, promising him a fancy new outfit and a sword if he could actually commit to the bit. While the kid is busy pretending to be a corpse, a mysterious figure drops by to ruin the family bonding time. It turns out Grandpa was not just some humble grave digger, he was actually Bu Janyang, the legendary seven-branched demonic blade and a former vice palace master. This legendary killer did not quit his high-paying executive job at the Demon Palace for a better work-life balance. He chose the life of an undertaker to repent for the mountains of bodies he left behind, proving that even the scariest demons eventually want to clear their search history. To keep the heat away from his grandson, Janyang leads the pursuer into the bamboo forest, essentially sacrificing himself so the boy can keep playing his game.
It is the ultimate go-to-your-room move, but with way more blood and high-stakes martial arts involved.
Eventually, the cold gets to be too much for Yunseal, and he decides that a new sword is not worth catching pneumonia.
He breaks the rules of the game and goes looking for his grandfather, only to realize that the playing dead part of the night was not just a game for everyone.
He finds his grandfather collapsed and leaking more blood than a horror movie set.
As the old man takes his final breaths, he drops the ultimate buzzkill request, begging Yunseal to give up the Undertaker business and, for the love of the heavens, to never seek revenge. Yunseal is not hearing any of that peace and forgiveness nonsense. He tells the dying old man that a world without him is already hell, so he might as well embrace the flames. You can practically see the revenge arc loading bar hitting 100% in his eyes.
Instead of just crying like a normal person, Yunseal puts his professional skills to work and starts a forensic investigation on the spot.
He analyzes the wounds with the precision of a CSI detective, ignoring the fact that his only relative just turned into a cold case right in front of him. He spots some weird downward slicing patterns on the arms and identifies the use of the Tianju yoga technique. This is not the kind of yoga you do at the gym, it is a demonic path move that lets you contort your body to strike from impossible angles, confirming his grandpa was taken out by a pro. The kid finds 93 traces of hidden weapons and nails discolored by a lethal poison that literally rots your flesh while you are still using it. Our Undertaker protagonist now has a full profile of the killer, and he is definitely not planning on calling the local authorities to handle it. After burying his grandfather under the name of the Janyang clan, Yunseal heads straight to the Demon Palace registration desk. He is looking for the monster who did this, and he is willing to walk right into the lion's den to find them. Talk about a dangerous job application. The clerks at the desk are total arrogant NPCs, mocking him for being a country bumpkin from a sect they have never heard of. They try to scare him with a contract that basically says, "We own your soul and your body," expecting the kid to tuck tail and run back to his graveyard.
Without hesitating for even a second, Yunseal bites his own finger and stamps the agreement in blood, shocking the recruiters who realized they just signed up a literal psycho.
The journey of the Demon Undertaker has officially begun, and he is coming for everyone's head. Grandpa might have wanted him to live a quiet life, but Yunseal decided that violence is the only language the Murim speaks. He is carrying his grandfather's legacy in that box, and he is about to show the entire demon palace that you should never mess with the guy who knows exactly how to bury you. The atmosphere turns heavy as he walks into the palace, his red eyes glowing with enough malice to make actual demons uncomfortable. He is not there to learn, he is there to audit the student body and delete anyone who smells like his grandfather's killer.
Every step he takes is a reminder of the night he lost everything.
The competition is supposed to be about finding the next great demonic master, but Yunseal is just treating it like a very long list of people he needs to put into the ground. He reflects on the forensic details one last time, locking the image of the killer's technique into his brain. The downward slice, the yoga-style movement, the poison, it is all a map leading to his target. This is not just a revenge story, it is a high-speed hunt. The clerks watch him walk away, finally realizing that the bumpkin they just insulted has an aura that could freeze the sun. Yunseal is the ultimate red flag in human form, and the demon palace has no idea that they just let their own executioner through the front gates. As he enters the main arena, the sheer scale of the competition becomes clear, but Yunseal does not care about the thousands of rivals. He is looking for the one signature move that matches the wounds on his grandfather's back. The game of playing dead is over, and now, it is time for everyone else to try it out for real. He grips the straps of his wooden box, his left leg tensing as he prepares for the first round.
The speed he showed earlier was just a teaser. Once he actually draws his blade, the Murim is going to realize why his grandfather was so feared.
The poison that killed Janyang was meant to make him suffer, and Yunseal plans to return that favor with interest. He is an expert in the human body, knowing exactly where to cut to make the pain last for an eternity before the final burial. Every arrogant young master in the palace is currently a target. They see a skinny kid with a box, but they are actually looking at the person who is going to be digging their graves by the end of the week.
The disrespect is about to be handled in the bloodiest way possible.
Yunseal closes his eyes, centering his rage into a sharp, cold focus.
He told his grandfather he would rather be in hell with him, and he is about to turn this entire palace into a satellite office for the underworld.
The registration is finished, the blood stamp is dry, and the path is set.
No more playing dead, no more hiding in the snow. The Janyang clan is back, and this time, they are not here to repent, they are here to collect. The clerks finally stop laughing as Yunseal disappears into the inner palace, leaving a trail of cold air behind him.
They might have thought they were just signing up another victim, but they actually just invited a wolf into a sheepfold where the sheep think they are the predators.
Our boy takes his first step into the competition, and the screen fades as his red eyes flash one last time. If you were looking for a hero, keep moving, because this kid is only interested in being the last one standing over a pile of corpses.
The revenge arc is officially in high gear, and if you think this is going to be a peaceful tournament, you have clearly never met an Undertaker with a grudge.
Get ready, because the Demon Palace is about to learn that the scariest thing in the world is someone who has nothing left to lose. Welcome to the Murim, where the so-called orthodox heroes and the unorthodox psychos have been playing a deadly game of tag for centuries. One side claims to fight for justice while the other just wants to see the world burn, and honestly, the balance was actually stable for a bit. But the justice-obsessed simps decided to ruin the peace by creating the 18 martial masters. They called them the masters for the greater good, which is basically Murim speak for, we have a bigger squad than you. Not to be outdone, the Demon Palace looked at that and said challenge accepted. Their brilliant plan? Create the 10 demon masters, an elite force of absolute monsters to flip the script on those self-righteous monks and swordsmen. They put out a massive help wanted sign for every young prodigy in the land. The deal was simple, it doesn't matter who you used to work for, if you are talented enough, they will teach you the forbidden arts of the 10 demonic sects. Naturally, every thirsty martial artist in the country flocked to the palace. Among the crowd is our boy Yunseal, who isn't there for the benefits package. He is busy sensing some seriously scary auras, realizing the competition is packed with high-level threats.
But then, he feels something that makes his blood run cold.
Someone in this crowd is linked to the person who murdered his grandfather. It is not just gossip anymore, The killer is close enough to touch, but Yoonseol knows he is currently too weak to do anything but stare. He admits it himself, the murderer is a martial god compared to him. If he wants to turn that guy into a memory, he needs a massive power-up, and he needs it yesterday.
Standing there with Zero Sect backing, he realizes becoming a demon master is his only shot at survival.
It is a desperate move, but desperate times call for joining a demonic cult, right? He clenches his fist, deciding that if he has to become a demon to get his revenge, then he will be the scariest one of the lot. Suddenly, the atmosphere gets heavy as the head instructor makes his grand entrance.
This absolute unit is Hyuk Ryanung, also known as Gold Dagger Blood Eyes. With a name that edgy, you know he is not here to hand out participation trophies.
Ryan Young wastes no time and tells the crowd that the Demon Palace is only looking for the peak of the peak. If you aren't a once-in-a-generation genius, you might as well walk yourself to the nearest exit before things get messy. The first trial is basically a glorified vibe check. The palace instructors start roaming through the crowd, manually inspecting everyone's physical aptitude. Imagine getting felt up by a group of scary cultists just to see if your bones are worth training.
Some candidates are confused, wondering where the actual fighting is, but the instructors are ruthless. They are looking for perfect frames and iron muscles, tossing anyone who looks even slightly mid to the curb without a second thought.
Then they get to Yoonseol, and it is a total roast session. They look at his thin frame and basically tell him he is completely screwed. To them, he looks like a stiff breeze could snap him in half, making him the ultimate reject of the first round. But just as they are about to laugh him off, the air gets freezing. Yoonseol releases a wave of genuine killing intent that is so heavy, it actually makes the instructors freeze.
Even with trash tier bones, the kid has the eyes of a cold-blooded assassin.
Despite the scary eyes, they still fail him. Yoonseol isn't even surprised, he spent his entire life looking after corpses instead of practicing fancy sword moves. He has zero foundation, and in a world where muscles are king, he is a peasant.
The rejection pile starts getting salty, and one guy loses it, screaming that judging someone purely on their bones is unfair.
He wants a real chance to prove he is a main character, not realizing he is just background fodder for the instructors. The head instructor basically tells them to shut up because bones and muscles are the literal blueprints for martial arts.
But because he is feeling spicy, he offers a pity trial for the weaklings who still think they have a chance to survive.
This second trial is where the unorthodox part of the Demon Palace really shines. There are no forms, no points, and no referees. It is just raw, unfiltered chaos designed to see who has the most demon in them. The rules are simple: fight everyone around you and survive until only one person is left standing. It is a literal battle royale where the prize is a spot in the academy and the consolation prize is a one-way ticket to the afterlife. The candidates are horrified, realizing they have to murder the person standing next to them. But while the others are hesitating, one aggressive guy decides to start the party early. He spots Yoonseol, the weakest-looking kid, and decides he is the perfect first victim.
This spear-wielding simp launches a full-power thrust at Yoonseol, screaming for him to die.
He thinks he is getting an easy kill to start the trial, but he has no idea he is about to find out exactly why our boy was radiating all that terrifying killing intent.
The blade is inches from Yoonseol's face, and the chapter ends on a massive cliffhanger. Will the corpse cleaner finally show us some hidden skills, or is his journey to become a demon master ending before it even starts?
Stay tuned, because the bloodbath is just beginning.
You want to see a local psycho ruin a girl's day?
The trial officially hits the fan when Wai Wenchung decides the candidate known as Red Dragon is surplus to requirements, turning her into a human kebab, and leaving the entire crowd wondering if they signed up for a trial or a slaughterhouse. While this absolute madman is busy boasting about his first kill, the observers realize he is actually a walking cheat code.
He might have a frame as weak as a wet paper towel, but his reflexes are so sharp he managed to bypass her ribs and strike her heart with the precision of a surgeon on a caffeine high.
Wenchung is out here acting like he is the main character of a tragedy, challenging the rest of the mob to step up if they want to get skewered next.
It is peak edgelord behavior that proves the guy has zero common sense but enough arrogance to fill a palace.
The battlefield turns into a literal ocean of blood within seconds, as the candidates, who aren't used to seeing their friends turned into pastrami, completely lose their minds.
Their senses are paralyzed by the kind of fear that only comes when you realize you are next on the menu.
Amidst the chaos, Yunseal is playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing tag with knives.
He realizes that making yourself a prominent threat in a mosh pit like this is basically just putting a giant kick me sign on your back for every other hungry candidate.
While the screams of the dying are providing the background music, Yunseal stays as cold as an ice cube in winter.
He knows the head instructor did not just say kill everyone, he said survive, and there is a massive difference between a mindless murderer and a survivor.
Our boy vows to live no matter how many bodies he has to step over, adopting the calculated focus of an undertaker during a plague.
He is moving through the carnage with a rational mindset that makes all these other screaming idiots look like total amateurs.
He is not just wandering around aimlessly though, as he stops to analyze the handiwork left on the corpses. He notices thin, persistent sword marks that suggest someone is out here unleashing a flurry of strikes with a blade so slender it makes a needle look fat. Suddenly, a wild generic candidate appears, mocking Yunseal for looking like a pathetic loser. He starts ridiculing the box Yunseal is carrying, calling him a peddler of temple relics and acting like he is about to get an easy kill on the weakest guy in the room.
This loudmouthed clown thinks he is a big deal until the literal embodiment of bad news shows up.
Nung Woongang enters the chat and deletes the aggressive candidate before he can even finish his sentence, effectively saving our protagonist from a very annoying headache. Woongang is not exactly the humble type, telling Yunseal not to bother thanking him for the rescue. He is basically the new apex predator on the field, and everyone with half a brain cell can feel the shift in the atmosphere the moment he draws his weapon. The instructors watching from the sidelines immediately recognize the massive red flag Woongang is carrying. It turns out he is wielding the extermination sword, the legendary legacy of Black Soul, who was basically the goated wanderer swordsman back in the day. This kid is a self-taught monster who found a secret manual in a secluded valley and decided to become a legend. His forms are as unpolished as a jagged rock and his movements leave openings wide enough to drive a carriage through, yet he is still a top-tier candidate for the 10 Demon Masters. The instructors agree that while he is technically a greenhorn who is unworthy of the sword's hilt, there is absolutely nobody on this field of battle who can match his raw power. He is the unofficial king of the hill, and he knows it, looking down on everyone else like they are just ants. Yunseal continues his silent autopsy of the battlefield, noting that the cut marks Woongang leaves behind are surprisingly rough and unrefined. Meanwhile, Woongang approaches him, expressing genuine shock that a weakling like Yunseal actually managed to survive until the final act. Woongang declares that killing Yunseal will be the final cherry on top of his victory sundae, but he has no idea who he is messing with. Despite facing the strongest fighter in the arena, Yunseal stays completely unfazed because he has already figured out the legendary swordsman's fatal weakness. Meet Nung Woongang, a guy who clearly skipped the lesson on how to avoid being a generic mid-boss.
He is standing in a literal sea of corpses, feeling himself way too much because he thinks killing our boy Yunseal is his golden ticket to becoming a candidate for the 10 Demon Masters.
On the other side, we have Yunseal, who looks like he just wants to go home and take a nap. Woongang is sizing him up like a snack, but little does this muscle-brained clown know, looking weak is the ultimate trap in this world. The fight kicks off and Woongang starts swinging like he is trying to swat a fly. He is actually laughing, mocking Yunseal for his clumsy dodging.
He thinks the kid is just lucky, but if you have watched more than 2 minutes of any manhwa, you know that luck has nothing to do with it.
Look at this movement. Woongang is going full throttle, yet he cannot land a single clean hit. He is getting frustrated because his prey is slipping through his fingers like grease, and honestly, seeing this arrogant bully miss is incredibly satisfying.
The high-ranking observers in the back finally realize something is up.
Yunseal is not just dodging, he is twisting his body at the last possible millisecond to avoid fatal wounds. It is high-level physics being used to make a powerhouse look like a total amateur. Here is the real kicker that has the elders shaking. RMC did not just train hard, he spent his free time studying the corpses on the battlefield. He literally memorized Woongang's attack patterns by looking at how he butchered everyone else. That is some psycho-level observation right there. Despite being covered in shallow cuts, Yoonseal drops the ultimate insult. He looks this legendary warrior in the eye and tells him his sword techniques are pathetic. The audacity. You can almost hear Woongang's ego shattering into a million pieces. The onlookers are genuinely worried now.
They see Yoonseal's frail body and think there is no way he can actually land a counterattack.
Meanwhile, Woongang has completely lost his cool, deciding to grant Yoonseal's wish for a quick death by charging in with everything he has got. This is the moment Yoonseal was waiting for.
He knows that when Woongang goes into a murderous rage, he always aims for the upper body and vital points.
It is a predictable pattern, and predictability is a death sentence when you are fighting a genius. The tension is through the roof as the final strike approaches. Yoonseal is not running anymore, he is positioning himself for the one and only opening he needs. It is a high-stakes gamble where the loser gets a one-way trip to the afterlife. Flashback time. Yoonseal remembers his grandfather teaching him about the Tiantu acupoint. Apparently, even the strongest martial master cannot harden this spot. It is the literal off-switch for the human body, and Yoonseal is aiming right for the throat. With a strike so precise it would make a surgeon jealous, Yoonseal hits the mark. Woongang's eyes go wide as his entire system shuts down. Imagine being a powerhouse and getting one-tapped by a kid you called a weakling. The embarrassment alone should kill him. Down goes the giant. The battlefield goes silent as the powerhouse hits the dirt. It is a total upset that no one saw coming, except for maybe us. Yoonseal stands there, looking absolutely drained but victorious. The head instructor steps in and officially declares Yoonseal the winner of the second trial. The crowd is in shock, but our MC does not even have the energy to celebrate. He has pushed his body way past its limit just to survive this circus. Right after the win, Yoonseal's lights go out.
He collapses from the massive blood loss, and honestly, he earned that nap.
But his mind is not resting. He is slipping into a dark, haunting dream where his grandfather is calling out to him.
The dream sequence is straight-up nightmare fuel. We see Yoonseal searching for his grandfather in a void, but the man is just a shadow.
It is a heavy reminder that his past is just as broken as the world he is trying to survive in.
The vision gets even creepier. His grandfather's figure is distorted, and the red eyes are a clear sign that something is very wrong.
This is not a happy reunion. It is a psychological trauma fest that hints at the dark secrets lurking in Yoonseal's lineage.
Yoonseal snaps awake, gasping for air.
He is not on the battlefield anymore, he is in the hull of a ship.
He realizes he must have been out for a while, and the rocking of the waves tells him they are already on the move to the next nightmare.
He checks his wounds and is shocked to find they have been treated perfectly. He hardly feels any pain, which means the demonic palace used some high-level physician on him. They are keeping him alive, but only because they want to see him suffer in the next round. Yoonseal looks around and sees the other survivors. These are the elites who passed the first trial, and they are all staring at him with pure contempt.
They think he just got lucky against Woongang, ignoring the fact that he outplayed a master.
The ship finally reaches its destination, and the vibe is immediately terrible. The candidates are ordered to disembark, and we get our first look at the dreaded Hell Island. The sky is red, the terrain is jagged, and the air smells like death. Welcome to the next trial, kids. Hell Island is where the real slaughter begins, and Yoonseal is walking in with a target on his back.
If you thought the arena was bad, you are not ready for the absolute chaos that is about to go down on this rock.
Welcome to Hell Island, the ultimate vacation spot for people who enjoy suffering.
Our candidates land on this rock and are immediately told to strip. No, it is not that kind of party. They have to ditch their fancy clan clothes and weapons because in the Demon Palace, your daddy's money does not mean a thing. The instructors are not playing around. You want a sword? Take the standard issue one. You want a bed? Go find a hole in a rock. It is a literal scramble for real estate as they are told to pick their own caves, and you just know the drama is about to peak. Look at these clowns. They are actually fighting over who gets the most comfortable cave like they are at a 5-star resort.
Local simps and prestigious clan kids are already throwing hands over the best spots, completely forgetting that they barely survived a bloodbath 5 minutes ago.
Our boy Yunseal is just standing there, watching the circus. He is the only one with a working brain, realizing that these prestigious heirs have already lowered their guard. He knows the second trial was just a giant filter to get rid of the trash, and these guys are acting like the hard part is over. One of the instructors is keeping a close eye on Yunseal.
He thinks our MC looks sluggish and weak, wondering how a guy with the physical build of a wet noodle managed to survive the slaughter.
Little does he know, a cold heart and a sharp brain are the deadliest weapons on this island. When it is time to choose a room, Yunseal picks the absolute worst cave available. It is small, it is cramped, and it looks like it belongs to a very depressed badger. The other candidates are literally laughing at him, calling his choice as foul and disgusting as his dirty clothes.
But wait, the instructor realizes our boy is playing 4D chess.
That tiny entrance is a perfect choke point for defense against intruders, and the inside is actually massive. While the other idiots are sleeping in fancy caves with giant targets on their backs, Yunseal has built himself a fortress. Time for the orientation. Hell Island is basically a buffet of murder techniques, featuring 10 different martial arts facilities. Each one holds the secrets of a different demonic sect, and the instructors are handing out the keys to the kingdom. The catch? You have total freedom over your schedule. You can learn one, you can learn them all, or you can just sit in the dirt and contemplate your life choices. It sounds like a dream, but in a place called Hell Island, freedom is usually just another word for a death sentence. You want to sleep? Go ahead. You want to play? Sure thing. Yunseal is immediately smelling a rat. He knows the Demon Palace does not give out free passes. This peaceful vibe is 100% a trap designed to make the weak even lazier before the next slaughter starts. The sheep immediately start following the herd. Everyone is rushing toward the Fire Rain Sword sect because they heard it is the most powerful.
It is the classic meta-slave move, picking the most popular class because they are too scared to innovate or think for themselves.
Yunseal decides to walk the path less traveled. He is ignoring the hype and heading toward a desolate, run-down area. He is not interested in being another sword-swinging clone in a crowd of targets. He wants something that will actually keep him alive when the real horror begins. He arrives at the Wandering Beast Pavilion, a place that looks like it has not been cleaned since the last era. It used to produce the absolute strongest masters in history, but now it has plummeted so far down that it barely counts as a sect. It is the ultimate underdog choice. Just as he is checking out the ruins, the ground starts throwing a tantrum. A massive earthquake hits, and something is literally digging its way up from the dirt. Talk about a dramatic entrance for a guy who probably just wanted a nap in his underground lair. Out pops Sa Wu, the secret pavilion master. He looks like he eats rocks for breakfast and does not have time for visitors.
He is basically the final boss of grumpy old men, and he is not happy to see a scrawny kid standing on his lawn.
Sa Wu takes one look at Yunseal's fragile frame and tells him to get lost before he accidentally dies. He has no intention of teaching his secrets to someone who looks like they would break if the wind blew too hard. He is basically roasting our MC's entire existence and calling him a fragile brat. But Yunseal is not budging. He tells the big guy that the Wandering Beast techniques are his only chance to gain the power necessary to survive anything.
Sa Wu drops a truth bomb. Their training begins with a brutal modification of the physical body that would kill a normal person in a day.
Most people would run for their lives, but Yunseal just drops to the ground and bows. He is like, cool, thanks for the warning, master. He is officially paying his respects, forcing the grumbling Sa Wu to accept him because the Demon Palace orders are the only thing the old man respects. Sa Wu is grumbling like a broken engine, but he accepts the crazy brat. He makes it clear he is only doing this because the palace told him to.
He is not happy about it, but he is about to become the worst nightmare Yunseal has ever faced.
The master tells him to call him Mr. Sa from now on and immediately strips Yunseal of his identity. No more boo Yunseal, you are just trainee number 1. It is time to forget your name and focus on not dying during the first hour of training. RMC is about to go through a physical transformation that would make a horror movie look like a comedy.
Mr. Saw is ready to get started right away, and by the look in his eyes, he is going to enjoy every second of Yoonseol's suffering.
Let the real hell begin.
Imagine thinking you still have a name after meeting this guy.
Saw-woo officially introduces himself as the master of the Wandering Night Pavilion and immediately demotes our boy Yoonseol to trainee number 1. Talk about a toxic workplace environment. Before the kid can even process his new rank, Saw-woo decides it is time for a little magic trick. He uses a secret technique to seal the kid's vision temporarily. No blindfold, just straight-up mystical blindness because regular training is for losers. Everything goes pitch black. Our main lead is officially playing life on hard mode now. Saw-woo is out here acting like a psycho duke, deleting eyeballs for the sake of progress. This is not just for fun, though. Saw-woo explains that losing his sight is a necessary step to master the Wandering Beast path. It is the foundational martial art of their pavilion, and it sounds like a total nightmare. The goal is to heighten every other sense and get reflexes like a beast. But there is a catch: the technique manifests differently for everyone. There is no manual for this madness, just vibes and suffering. Saw-woo drops the real bombshell: the mortality rate for this training is basically 100% for regular people. Most students end up as corpses long before they ever get those beast-like senses. Great way to motivate the new hire, right? You will earn the senses of a wandering beast, he says, while looking like he is about to feast on the kid's soul. Most people die before that point, but hey, details, details. Master Saw tells the kid he should get used to the darkness in about an hour and then just dips. He leaves our boy alone in the middle of nowhere, blind and fumbling like a simp at a fan meet. Yoonseol is struggling, big time. He expected his other senses to just kick in like a superpower, but instead, he is just a blind kid crawling on the grass. Waiting an hour feels like an eternity when your life is on the line.
The young Undertaker realizes he does not have the luxury of time.
He is in a competition where enemies could jump him at any second. He starts moving around frantically, trying to find his balance in a world of shadows. He is basically shadowboxing with his own imagination. He knows that if his balance goes, he is as good as dead. It is a desperate scramble to survive the darkness he was just shoved into. Little does he know, Saw-woo is lurking in the shadows like a creep. The master is actually impressed because most trainees just sit there waiting for their senses to return. But our boy, he is out here fighting ghosts. Saw-woo notes how unique this kid is. Instead of being a passive victim, he is actively training against fake enemies. The adjustment speed is absolutely cracked, and the master is starting to see some real potential. Time to step up the heat. Saw-woo returns and sees that the kid has already gotten used to the lack of vision. It is time to stop playing with imaginary friends and face a real threat. Saw-woo draws his sword and tells the kid to try evading it. No pressure, just a masterclass swordsman trying to turn you into a shish kebab while you are still blind. The training just went from 0 to 100 real fast. Fast forward 3 days into this brutal training and it is raining cats and dogs. Our boy is looking rough, covered in dirt and probably questioning all his life choices, but he is still standing. Saw-woo is low-key shocked.
Most students would be crying or asking why their life sucks so much, but Yoonseol hasn't questioned the method or the theory once.
He is just taking the beatings like a champ. When asked why he is so quiet, Yoonseol says he knows the pavilion arts require reaching enlightenment on your own. He trusts his master has a reason for the madness. Saw-woo just smirks, realizing he has a real one on his hands. Back to the sparring and things get trippy. Yoonseol starts to have a massive breakthrough.
He is not just hearing the wind anymore. He is starting to visualize the exact path of the blade in his mind.
The world becomes a glitchy map of lines and energy. He can see it. The sword's path is laid bare before him. It is like he unlocked a cheat code in the middle of a boss fight. An attack comes in that is way too fast to dodge.
Most people would just accept their fate and become a statistic, but our boy decides he is not going out like that.
He blocks it. He actually blocks a silent strike from the master himself. Sa Wu's face says it all, total, utter disbelief. Blocking that after only 3 days of training is straight up illegal. The impact is massive, and Yunseal is definitely feeling the pain, but the feat is accomplished. He is surviving things that should have killed him 10 times over by now. After the session, Sa Wu hands him a bamboo cup.
The kid thinks it is just water, but one sip and his body feels like it is being recharged by a lightning bolt.
His lost blood is coming back and energy is surging.
Turns out, Sa Wu just gave him the ultimate spring spiritual water. This stuff is a legendary treasure the master has been hoarding his entire life. He just used his retirement fund on a 3-day-old trainee. Sa Wu looks at the kid and finally admits it to himself. He has found it. After waiting his entire life, he finally met a once-in-a-lifetime genius. The Wandering Night Pavilion is about to get a lot more terrifying.
You thought the training was over? Think again.
The final echoes of their brutal duel are still ringing through the air while our boy Yunseal is out here fighting for his life against a literal human tank. This is not just a spar, it is a full-blown survival horror experience. Yunseal is dodging strikes that could flatten a mountain, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with his chipped sword.
Just when you think he is cooked, the dust settles and Yunseal finally catches his breath.
His vision is back, and he is staring at the most terrifyingly happy man on this cursed island.
Mr.
Sa is not just impressed, he is practically foaming at the mouth with joy.
He starts laughing like a maniac because he realized he just stumbled upon a once-in-a-century genius.
Look at this guy. He is so hyped that he tells Yunseal to forget that trashy 10 Demon Masters competition and just become his official disciple instead. Talk about a massive shortcut. He promises to turn our young Undertaker into a top-tier martial master within 10 years. Usually, any sane person would sell their soul for this offer, but Yunseal has got that main character energy.
Our boy is thinking about his grandfather's murderer.
He knows that if he wants to settle that blood debt, mastering just one pavilion style is not going to cut it.
He needs to be a monster. Yunseal looks him dead in the eye and reaffirms his goal. He is going to become a demon master. Mr.
Sa thinks he is delusional because even the legends of the past could not pull that off.
Time for a quick lore dump. Mr. Sa explains that martial arts are limited by your physique and energy. Trying to master everything is a one-way ticket to a literal internal explosion. Seeing that the kid is a stubborn brat, Mr.
Sa decides to drop a truth bomb.
He reveals that those lethal sword strikes he was spamming earlier? Yeah, those were the secret forms of the wild beast path.
Yunseal realizes he was being taught the ultimate techniques while he was busy trying not to die.
The realization hits him harder than one of Mr. Sa's actual punches. Feeling the weight of the debt, especially after those expensive elixirs, Yunseal bows in deep gratitude. But Mr. Sa is a savage. He tells the kid to forget favors and grudges if he wants to survive. As Yunseal walks away, the old master watches him like a proud, slightly psychopathic father.
He calls him a hidden dragon and predicts a bloody storm is about to wreck Hell Island.
But being a genius is exhausting. Yunseal's newly sharpened senses are so intense that he can hear a leaf fall from 3 miles away, and it is giving him a massive migraine. He has to learn how to suppress this overwhelming awareness. He imagines stopping a single water droplet just to keep his brain from frying. Talk about high-maintenance powers. The Demon Palace is not a vacation home, and time is ticking. Yunseal decides his next stop is the Fire Rain Sword sect, the most prestigious and snobby group of the 10 demonic sects. He shows up at the Grand Hall, and wow, this place is like a palace compared to the dusty hut he just left. But the welcome committee is less than friendly. Meet the new instructor, Jean Gak. He sees Yunseal arriving half a month late and immediately assumes the kid is a lazy slacker or a total failure from the other trials.
When Yunseal mentions the Wandering Beast Pavilion, Jean Gak basically roasts him, thinking he got kicked out because the previous master found him too annoying to deal with.
Despite the warnings that their sword style is insanely complex, Yunseal insists on starting the trial. He is not here to play games, he is here to collect every OP skill on the island. Jean Gak finally hands over a manual containing the introductory forms of the Fire Rain's 13 forms. He tells the boy to study the text and let the movements flow like a pro. Yunseal stares at the manual, and for the first time, the invincible genius looks completely lost. The instructor is waiting for him to start, but there is one tiny problem. The tension is building up as Yunseal just stands there like a statue.
Jean Gak is starting to lose his patience, thinking the kid is just trying to look cool while doing nothing. This is the moment where we realize that having a god-tier body doesn't mean you have a god-tier education.
Yunseal is looking at the pages like they are written in alien hieroglyphics.
Finally, the truth comes out and it is absolutely hilarious.
Our lethal, dragon-level martial genius admits he has no idea how to actually read a sword manual. Jean Gak's face is pure gold. He spent all that time acting tough just to find out he is teaching a kid who is functionally illiterate. Welcome to the elite sect, I guess. You are telling me this kid has been out here bodying people without a single day of formal training?
Instructor Jean Gak is losing his mind because our boy Yunseal is a total noob who does not even know the basic sword steps.
Imagine being a top-tier martial artist and realizing your star pupil is literally just vibing. But hold on, because the instructor starts having a minor existential crisis.
He looks back at Yunseal's insane reactions and realizes the kid is a literal blank canvas.
If he actually learns the rules, he is going to be a menace to society. It is the classic "he is a natural" trope, and we are all here for it. Since Yunseal actually knows how to read, unlike some of the other meatheads in this sect, Jean Gak throws the foundational principles at him. It is all about full body relaxation and softly flowing into one. Basically, stop being so stiff or you are going to get clapped in a real fight. Our boy is struggling because his body is as tense as a guitar string. Jean Gak has to literally get hands-on to help him relax his core and waist. It is a humble beginning for someone who is supposed to be a demon master, but hey, even legends have to start with basic stretching. And just like that, Yunseal fixes his posture after being told exactly once. Jean Gak's face says it all, this kid is a freak of nature. Most students take weeks to stop looking like a wet noodle, but our protagonist is already speedrunning the basics like it is nothing. No more baby steps. Jean Gak decides to drop the Fire Rain 13 forms on him immediately. He explains that the ticket to the intermediate chamber is manifesting real sword intent against an imaginary enemy. It is time to see if Yunseal has that dog in him or if he is just a lucky amateur. Yunseal locks in. He knows this is his shot to prove he belongs among the monsters. He starts visualizing the one person he hates more than anything. If you are going to swing a sword, you might as well aim it at the person who ruined your life, right? Talk about motivation. The air in the room shifts as Yunseal prepares for the exam. This is not just a demo, it is a declaration of war. He is looking for that intermediate chamber pass, and he is willing to hallucinate a whole battlefield just to get it. The instructor can already feel the temperature rising.
Within his mind, the enemy appears.
Yunseal is not playing around, he is visualizing the specific monster he is destined to put in the ground. The killing intent is so thick you could carve it with a dull butter knife. He is not just training, he is practicing a funeral service. He kicks things off with the first technique, Peerless Whirlwind. It is fast, it is violent, and it is definitely not what the instructor expected. Jean Gak is watching from the sidelines like, wait, that is not how I taught him, because our boy is already putting his own spicy twist on the moves. Then comes the third technique, Foggy Drifting Clouds. Usually, this move is supposed to be soft and spirited, like a gentle mist. But in Yunseal's hands? It is more like a jagged blade wrapped in a storm. He is taking the orthodox path and turning it into a highway to the graveyard. Jean Gak is officially shook.
He realizes Yunseal is consciously changing the basic moves of a technique passed down for generations.
This is the kind of stuff only grandmasters do after decades of meditation, but this kid is doing it on his first day. Talk about a massive flex on the entire sect. Every swing is dripping with a terrifying level of killing intent. It is like he is facing the person who murdered his entire family right there in the room.
The instructor is starting to wonder what kind of trauma this kid went through to have eyes that look like they belong to a seasoned executioner.
Deep inside his soul, the wild beast path starts acting up. His senses are sharpening to a point that is honestly illegal. The beast is fusing with the fire rain forms, and the sword paths are starting to change on their own. He is not even controlling the sword anymore, the sword is just following his instinct to kill. The hallucination hits its peak.
The bastard who killed his grandfather shows up in his mind, moving faster than anything he has ever seen.
Yunseal is trapped with no room to dodge, forced to face the ultimate nightmare. Most people would crumble, but our boy just grips his sword tighter.
Driven to the absolute brink, he pours every ounce of his soul into a final strike, overturning 4 seas. The mental battle is pure chaos, and in his own mind, Yunseal actually loses the exchange.
He collapses, gasping for air, thinking he failed the most important test of his life.
The intensity of that last move was so high that the whole chamber feels like it just went through a blender.
Yunseal is convinced he is a loser, but he does not realize that the instructor is currently standing there in a state of total awe.
You do not just pull off a move like that and fail. Surprise! Jean Gak tells him he passed. He is not just passed, he is basically the valedictorian of violence. His execution and understanding of the sword were so incredible that the instructor is almost scared of him. Yunseal is just confused because he is still stuck on the fact that he died in his vision. Yunseal gives a sincere thanks to Jean Gak for not giving up on a total amateur. The instructor gives him one last warning: do not let that massive killing intent consume you, or you will end up as a monster. It is a heavy warning, but let us be real, our boy was born in the darkness anyway. As he walks toward the intermediate chamber, Jean Gak is still processing the fact that this kid mastered the wild beast path in a literal fortnight. He is speedrunning the entire sex curriculum. At this rate, he will be the boss of the place by next Tuesday. But of course, there is always a hater. He arrives at the next trial only to be met by instructor Cheon Woongang, who is a total red flag. This guy tells Yunseal to buzz off because the spots are full. Little does he know, he just tried to gatekeep a literal demon. Good luck with that, buddy. Yunseal finally rolls up to the intermediate chamber, but the instructor is already on his case like a toxic ex. He actually has the nerve to call our boy a slow learner because he spent 20 days on the basic forms. But wait, Yunseal drops a total bomb, revealing he was actually chilling at the Wandering Night Pavilion for 2 weeks. The instructor immediately assumes he is a quitter who couldn't handle the legendary wild beast path. Talk about jumping to conclusions. Despite the shade, the teacher lets him take a seat but warns everyone that the fire rain thundering sword is high speed and high stakes. If you are a scrub with the blade, you are basically going to turn yourself into a human kebab. The instructor starts preaching about how this chamber is for sharpening prowess and precision, not just winning.
Yeah, okay. Tell that to the group of bloodthirsty teenagers behind you who clearly didn't get the memo.
Enter Byok Hansung, the resident tryhard. When told to pick a dueling partner, he immediately points at Yunseal. He really chose the new kid who just stepped out of the elementary trial? This guy is the definition of a bully looking for an easy win.
Even the instructor thinks this is a total scam and tries to stop the match.
He knows Hansung is just trying to stat pad his reputation by beating up a beginner. But Hansung is committed to the villain arc. Plot twist. Yunseal doesn't even flinch and says he is totally fine with the duel. He is actually eager to test out the skills he learned from instructor Jean Gak against a moving target. He is literally inviting the smoke. The instructor just sighs and lets it happen, convinced that Yunseal is just a delusional kid trying to protect his bruised ego. He tells them to go ahead, probably expecting to see a one-sided beatdown. The duel officially begins and Hansung is grinning like he already won the lottery. Their swords clash for the first time, and he is already mocking Yunseal for having zero experience. Oh buddy, you have no idea what is coming. Hansung starts swinging with the fire rain thundering sword, looking like he is trying to paint the walls with our boy. But Yunseal is just Not there. He is dodging every single strike like he is playing a game on easy mode. Hansung is getting tilted because his big flashy moves are hitting nothing but air.
He starts screaming about showing the true power of the sword.
Sir, your insecurity is showing and it is not a good look. The instructor is starting to have a midlife crisis watching this.
He realizes Yoonseol isn't just fast. He is literally predicting every single move before Hansung even makes it.
This is the mastery of the wild beast path in action. He tries to convince himself that no one, not even a genius gifted by the heavens, could master that art in only 2 weeks. Still, he demands that Yoonseol stop playing tag and actually show some sword skill. Yoonseol finally decides to stop the cardio session and shifts his stance. He initiates the Fire Rain 13 forms, and the atmosphere in the room completely changes. This isn't the basic stuff they teach in class.
Hansung is sweating now because he realizes Yoonseol's movements are subtly and dangerously different.
It is like a variant version that is 10 times more lethal. Our boy was really holding back this entire time. Feeling totally mocked and desperate to reach the advanced chamber, Hansung decides to throw the rules out the window. He abandons the trial style and prepares to use a forbidden killing move from the Azura Sword sect.
He unleashes the blood-shattering strike, a lethal technique meant for actual murder.
The instructor recognizes it immediately but is too stunned to stop it. This went from a sparring match to a death match real quick. Even against a literal assassination technique, Yoonseol stays perfectly balanced.
He doesn't panic or lose his footing for a second.
The instructor is shook by how calm this kid is in the face of death. Hansung pours every ounce of his saltiness into one final, most powerful attack.
He thinks this is the end for Yoonseol.
Little does he know, he just walked right into the ultimate counterattack. Yoonseol doesn't even blink. He transitions perfectly into the 13th form of the Fire Rain style, infinite and boundless. It is a masterclass in precision that leaves everyone in the room breathless. There is a flash of movement and a sound that definitely wasn't a wooden sword hitting practice armor. The speed is so insane that half the students didn't even see what happened. The dust clears and the room goes dead silent.
The onlookers are looking on in pure horror as they realize the weakling beginner just pulled off a miracle.
The duel is over in a heartbeat. Hansung, the guy who wanted to solidify his reputation by killing a kid, is now just a cooling corpse on the floor. He really fumbled the bag that hard. Everyone is staring at Yoonseol like he is a monster. He just took out a top student with a single counter. Moral of the story, if you are going to be a bully, at least make sure your target isn't a secret martial arts god. Imagine going for a friendly spar and ending up as a permanent resident of the local morgue.
Hansung really thought he was the main character until our boy landed a precise strike to his vitals, leaving him deader than my social life.
The instructor, Cheon Woongang, is looking at this scene like it is a Yelp review gone wrong. He is less worried about the murder and more obsessed with how this kid mastered the wild beast path in just 2 weeks while everyone else is still struggling with the tutorial. RMC is out here gaslighting the master, claiming he only learned the basics.
The instructor is basically calling cap, wondering if the Wandering Night Pavilion is now offering a PhD in professional lying alongside their martial arts curriculum.
The rest of the candidates are having a total meltdown, screaming for Yoonseol to be punished like a bunch of entitled Karens.
But Cheon is not having it, releasing an aura that basically tells them to shut their mouths or be the next one on the floor. Welcome to Hell Island, where the rules are simple. If you use a move meant to kill, you better have your funeral prepaid. The instructor makes it clear that in this place, death is just another Tuesday, and mercy is a word they deleted from the dictionary. Looking at the crowd of losers, the master decides he is bored of teaching mid-tier simps.
He tells the entire group they have failed because they lack the blood, sweat, and tears required to be actual legends.
It is a mass eviction, and it is honestly hilarious. He tells them to screw off and find another chamber because they lack the talent to even sniff the Fire Rain sword technique. Imagine getting fired from your dream job because you are just too basic. That is the energy here. While everyone else is busy packing their bags in shame, Yoonseol is just standing there like a glitch in the Matrix. The master is confused, asking why he has not left yet since he actually passed the trial and should be moving on to the big leagues. Plot twist. Our boy wants to stay in the intermediate chamber.
He realizes he is a fraud who only knows one style and actually wants to learn the fundamentals.
It is rare to see a manhwa lead admit he is a noob, but here we are. The instructor is actually impressed by this honesty. He agrees to teach him the Fire Rain Thundering Sword, but there is a catch. If he catches Yunseal using any more secret tricks or playing games, he is going to behead him on the spot. No pressure, right? He really hates little tricks meant to make an impression. The master looks like a total psycho duke here, promising a one-way ticket to the afterlife if Yunseal hides any other techniques.
Our MC just stares back, probably thinking about his revenge list.
Fast forward 4 days and the master is having a midlife crisis.
He realized that Yunseal was not lying. The kid literally had zero fundamentals.
He is watching the boy swing a sword like a toddler with a stick, yet the progress is terrifyingly fast. Yunseal has the kind of concentration that would make a monk look like he has ADHD.
The master realizes that this kid is training as if his life depends on it, probably because he knows that if he fails, his enemies will turn him into a memory.
During a high-stakes practice of the extreme lightning move, the master has to step in. Yunseal is looking like a straight-up demon, pouring so much murderous intent into his strikes that the atmosphere is turning toxic. The instructor tells him to stop before he accidentally kills the air. He explains that while demonic arts need that edgy, I hate the world energy, focusing too much on the killing aspect is going to ruin his future potential. Apparently, the Fire Rain Sword is supposed to be about more than just ending lives. The master warns that if he cannot let go of that murder boner in his heart, he is just going to create a martial art that eventually destroys his own body. We get a glimpse into the instructor's tragic backstory. He used to be a killing machine too, but it cost him his honor, his pride, and his power.
He is basically a walking cautionary tale for anyone who thinks being a psycho is a personality trait.
He talks about how the path of the sword is stained with despair. It is deep, it is edgy, and it is exactly what Yunseal needs to hear before he goes full villain mode.
The master is trying to save the kid from becoming a mindless slayer.
After learning the boy is named Yunseal, the master connects the dots. This is the legendary survivor that instructor Jean Gak was hyping up.
Suddenly, the master realizes he is dealing with a once-in-a-generation talent who is also a total red flag.
There is a massive problem, though. The elites in the advanced chamber have been training since they were in diapers. Yunseal is a late bloomer, and the gap between them is wider than the MC's trauma. He needs a shortcut, and he needs it now. To give him a fighting chance, the master offers to teach him his personal secret technique, unrivaled lightning and thunder. It sounds cool, but the fine print says it is basically a suicide mission that usually ends in permanent disability. The master shows off his own hand, which has no nerve endings left thanks to this technique. He is basically saying, "Hey kid, want to be a cripple like me?" It is the ultimate test of how far Yunseal is willing to go for his vengeance. Most people would run away, but Yunseal is not most people. He looks the master in the eye with those glowing red "I have nothing to lose" pupils and accepts the risk without blinking. He is ready to trade his very soul for power. He thanks the master, declaring that even his soul is a small price to pay for revenge. The chapter ends with our MC looking like a true menace, ready to break his own body just to make sure his enemies suffer. This is the peak revenge at all costs energy we live for. Imagine grinding for a whole month just to learn how to play with static electricity. Our boy finally masters the unrivaled lightning and thunder, basically graduating from the kids' table of the intermediate chamber. He steps into the advanced chamber and the vibe check is immediate. This place is crawling with elite trainees who actually look like they have had a bath and some proper training, unlike the scrub-tier mobs he left behind. The air is thick with a different level of ferocity, but Yunseal notices something hilarious. Nobody is looking at him like he is trash anymore. Turns out, murdering a top-tier student like Bayak Hansung is a great way to update your social status from loser to danger zone. He starts reflecting on how twisted this world is. If you clean up dead bodies, you are the lowest of the low, But if you are the one making the bodies with a sword, people treat you like a celebrity. The irony is thicker than the plot armor. Before he can even settle in, the instructor invites him to join the big boy class. They are diving deep into the 7 teachings and the fire rain sword, because clearly, regular rain just is not edgy enough for these guys. The lesson is all about balance, telling these guys to pull in their chests and push their backs out like they are trying to win a weird posture contest.
Yoonseol realizes all those basic drills he hated were actually the secret sauce to understanding this advanced stuff.
The verbal lecture wraps up, but the instructor is not done with him yet. He tells Yoonseol to follow him, probably to a more private place where he can drop some massive lore bombs or just beat him up for fun. This old master starts getting all philosophical, talking about a realm where you do not even need a physical sword to delete your enemies. It is the classic "the sword is in your heart" trope that every OP old man loves to flex. To test the kid's brain, the master asks a hypothetical. What do you do if you are suddenly jumped while being completely unarmed? It is a pop quiz, but the stakes involve not getting your head taken off.
The instructor reminds him that while he was playing in the lower chambers, these trainees were already mastering the shining mystique.
He basically tells Yoonseol to answer carefully or he might find himself back at the bottom of the food chain.
Yoonseol thinks he is being smart and says he would just take his opponent's sword and use it against them.
The master just sighs, calling that choice way too hasty, and immediately decides to show him why that logic is flawed.
A sudden spar explodes and Yoonseol realizes he is in way over his head.
The old man is moving with speed that should be illegal for someone that age. It is not even a fight, it is a live-action tutorial on how to get schooled. He cannot even predict where the next strike is coming from. The master is popping up behind him like a jump scare in a horror movie. Yoonseol is sweating bullets because he knows if he does not impress this guy, his stay in the advanced chamber will be a very short one. He is desperate now, pushing the wild beast path to its absolute limit just to keep his eyes on the target. He is trying to read the flow of direction, but the master is basically a glitch in the matrix at this point.
Every fiber of his being is screaming to keep up.
He is tapping into that primal instinct, trying to catch even a glimpse of an opening, but it is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. He lunges forward, betting everything on one single touch. Even if he can just graze the master, it would be a win. But the gap in power is like a mountain compared to a pebble, and he gets sent flying back into the dirt. After getting thoroughly humbled, Yoonseol expects a lecture on how bad he is. Instead, the instructor starts laughing and tells him he passes. Apparently, having the guts to even try and read his movements was enough to earn a good job sticker. The master promises to start teaching him the shining mystique the very next morning. He tells him to show up earlier than everyone else, because being the favorite student always comes with a side of sleep deprivation. The instructor watches him leave, clearly seeing something special in the kid. He mentions that even a cub is still a wolf, which is a very poetic way of saying this brat is going to be a menace later. As the sun sets on the island, the master reflects on his high expectations. The visuals are stunning, but you just know this peaceful sunset is the calm before the storm because this island never stays quiet for long. Later that night, Yoonseol decides to go for a stroll to scout the island. He is not being a tourist, he knows from the second trial that a fight can break out faster than a Twitter drama. His sharpened senses start tingling. He stops and starts counting the hidden rats in the bushes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yup, 5 idiots are waiting to jump him in the dark. A group of trainees who call themselves the 5 Peak Swords step out, looking like they are about to drop a mid-tier rap album.
They are mad because Yoonseol killed their buddy in the lower chambers and they think they are the ones to deliver justice.
These guys are arrogant as hell, claiming to be geniuses among geniuses. But Yoonseol is not even looking at them.
He realizes there is a 6th person watching from the shadows, and that person is the real threat.
One of the goons loses his cool and attacks, but Yoonseol handles him like he is taking out the trash.
Before things can get truly bloody, the mystery observer steps out to stop the nonsense.
It turns out the 6th person is Seo Jinha, and she is not here to play games. She shuts down the 5 Peak Swords faster than a librarian, making it clear that their little revenge plot is officially cancelled. The tension in the air is heavy enough to crush a normal person.
Jinha stares down the group until they realize they are outclassed and decide that maybe they do not want to die tonight after all.
With the trash cleared out, Jinha turns her gaze toward Yoonseol. She drops the ultimate cliffhanger line, telling him they need to have a very serious talk. You know it is bad when the top-tier beauty looks that intense. Imagine being a part of the 5 peak swords and getting absolutely humbled by a single look. Seo Jinha steps onto the scene and the air literally turns into a nope zone for these losers.
These cowards realize they are out of their league and decide that living is better than acting tough, so they run off like their pants are on fire. Jinha just watches them flee, probably thinking about how much trash he has to deal with daily.
Once the small fry are gone, Jinha drops the act and turns that terrifying gaze on our boy Yoonseol. He is not here for small talk, asking a chilling question that would make anyone else soil themselves. Whose side are you actually on? The tension is thick enough to cut with a dull blade as Jinha demands to know if Yoonseol is a friend or a target. It is clear that in this world, being neutral is just a fancy way of saying please kill me first. We jump back to the advanced chamber of the Fire Rain Sword sect where the instructor is done with the boring bedtime stories. He tells the class that theory is for nerds and it is finally time to see who actually knows how to swing a sword. The old man wants to see their personal interpretation of the fire raindrops technique. Basically, he is asking them to show off their own flavor of violence, and you know our main lead is about to cook. Yoonseol is called up first because the universe loves putting him in the spotlight. He takes a breath, and you can practically feel the temperature in the room drop as he prepares to show them what he has been working on. He executes the form with such disgusting precision it makes the other students look like they are playing with sticks. Every movement is calculated, grounded, and looks like it belongs in a professional executioner's manual. The instructor is actually impressed, noting that Yoonseol's version is dripping with a cold, heavy murderous intent. It is not just a sword dance, it is a promise of a very painful funeral for whoever stands in his way. Even the master is a bit shaken by how extra Yoonseol's killing intent is. He tells the boy to go back to his spot, probably needing a moment to process that he is teaching a literal walking red flag. Next up is Seo Jinha, and of course, this edgelord has to make an entrance. He walks up with all the confidence of a man who knows he is the main character in his own head, and the atmosphere shifts immediately. Jinha starts his demonstration, but something is off. He is not following the standard textbook version of the Fire Rain Sword. Instead, he is moving with a weird, aggressive flow that feels personal.
Yoonseol realizes with the jolt that Jinha's entire form is a direct counter to his own move.
It is a silent, high-level flex designed to show Yoonseol that his perfect technique has a very specific, very sharp weakness. This is psychological warfare at its finest. Jinha isn't just showing off for the teacher, he is sending a warning to Yoonseol that he is being watched and that his life can be ended at any moment if he slips up.
Back in the forest, Jinya drops a truth bomb, stating that half the people here aren't even interested in becoming demon masters.
He suspects everyone has a hidden agenda, and honestly, in this sect, that is just common sense.
Yoonseol starts putting the pieces together and realizes that getting to learn 10 different demonic arts for free is way too good to be true.
Usually, when something is this amazing, it is just bait for a very large mousetrap. He concludes that the Demon Palace might be using this whole competition as an elaborate dragnet to catch a specific rat or spy. It is a high-stakes game of Among Us where the losers get turned into fertilizer. Jinha scans Yoonseol's face like a human lie detector and decides that the kid isn't a spy. However, he gives him a final, savage warning: stop acting out of line, or Jinha will personally deliver him to the afterlife. Yoonseol watches him leave and decides that worrying about political traps is too much work. He settles on a much simpler philosophy: if they are in front of him and they have a sword, they are just another person to beat down. The training period finally grinds to a halt.
The instructor gives one last lecture, reminding everyone that knowing how to do a move and actually pulling it off in a bloodbath are two very different things.
He tells them that the principles they have learned are just stepping stones for their journey into the Murim. It is basically a nice way of saying I taught you the basics, now go try not to die in the next 5 minutes. Suddenly, a massive bell rings out across the entire island, shattering the peace. This is the signal every candidate has been dreading and waiting for. The vacation is officially over and the slaughter is about to begin. The orders are clear: get your butts to the stone mountain in the center of the island immediately. The survivors scramble, knowing that the next phase isn't going to involve any more polite demonstrations or lectures. As they gather at the base of the mountain, the atmosphere is heavy with the scent of impending doom.
The head instructor is waiting for them, looking like he is ready to enjoy the chaos that is about to unfold.
The third trial is officially starting, and you just know the body count is about to skyrocket.
If you thought the previous tests were tough, you are not ready for the absolute carnage that is coming next.
If you thought the last slaughter was the peak, think again, because the bearded grandpa just dropped a bombshell. That previous bloodbath was just a warm-up.
The real hell is just beginning, and these poor trainees look like they just saw a ghost while realizing their survival streak might end today. Pack your bags because the caves are officially closed and Hell Island is turning into a literal pressure cooker. No more hiding in your cozy rooms. It is time to gather your gear and face the music because the final trial is about to turn this place into a graveyard. The rules are simple and absolutely terrifying: eliminate everyone until only 10 survivors are left standing. It is basically a demonic battle royale where the prize is staying alive and the penalty for being second best is a one-way ticket to the afterlife.
Think you can just camp in a corner?
Bad news, because safe zones are shrinking and anyone caught in the restricted area gets hunted by killer demons.
These high-level monsters have enough killing intent to make a grown man cry, and they are definitely not here to play nice.
These killer demons are not just for show, they are peak martial artists meant to clear out the trash.
The candidates can practically feel the air getting heavy with bloodlust, realizing they are just tiny ants compared to these masked psychos who are itching to start the harvest.
But wait, there is a legendary cheat code for the bold. If you somehow manage to slay one of these demons, you get an instant promotion to Demon Master. It is a high-risk, high-reward bet that most of these simps will definitely fail while trying to look cool. The head instructor is basically giving them a license to be absolute snakes, encouraging teams, ambushes, and dirty tricks.
It is a festival of betrayal where your best friend might just stab you for a spot in the top 10, and honestly, the drama is delicious.
Our boy Yunseal knows he has a giant target on his back because he has been styling on these trainees way too hard. He needs to vanish before a mob of jealous losers tries to jump him to settle the score for his previous victories. He decides the Wandering Night Pavilion is the best spot to set up his fortress, moving like a shadow across the island.
He is not just running. He is calculating every step while the rest of the world is busy losing their minds in the chaos.
Suddenly, the ground starts talking to him, or at least it feels that way through his heightened senses.
He senses someone charging toward him in a total panic, and he is definitely not in the mood for an uninvited guest at his new hideout. A bloodied candidate comes screaming for help like he is the star of a bad horror movie, claiming a trio of killers is right on his tail.
Yunseal is just standing there wondering how this guy managed to be so loud and annoying while literally dying.
Our cold-blooded MC realizes that if this guy keeps yapping, his secret spot is going to be exposed to every predator in the area.
He decides to handle the situation not because he is a hero, but because he needs to keep the noise level down while he plans his next move. He discovers a hidden hole in the ground that looks suspiciously like a custom-made bunker prepared by Mr. Saw just for this occasion. It is time to go underground and let the surface world tear itself apart while he levels up in the dark.
While the killers outside are scratching their heads wondering where their prey went, Yunseal and the loud guy are safely tucked away.
It is the perfect disappearing act, leaving the jealous mob to fight over nothing while our MC chills in the dirt. While submerged in the earth, something crazy happens to his wild beast past senses as they begin to expand. He is not just hiding, he is evolving, perceiving the entire world through the subtle vibrations of the earth like a literal apex predator. This was the true final lesson his master intended all along, to see clearly without ever using his eyes. He can feel every footstep and every sword swing of the trainees above as if he had a 360-degree radar wired directly into his brain. The vibration mastery is a total game changer, turning the dark underground into a map of the entire battlefield.
Yunseal realizes that with this power, nobody can sneak up on him, making him the most dangerous man on Hell Island.
The guy he saved introduces himself as Jim Kialing from the Blood Sect, and he is already acting like Yunseal is his long-lost brother.
Yunseal gives him the ultimate silent treatment, but this talkative sidekick just won't take a hint and shut up.
Despite Yunseal being a walking iceberg, Kialiang decides to stick to him like glue because he thinks the young Undertaker is the only trustworthy person left.
Now we have an elite killer and a professional yapper forming the weirdest duo in the history of demonic trials. Yunseal is out here navigating this cursed island like a human radar.
He is literally using the Earth's vibrations to scout out a massive battle happening nearby, because why walk into a trap when you can just feel the ground screaming?
His companion Kialiang is absolutely losing it, acting like a total simp for these skills. He is begging Yunseal for a tutorial on how to sense movements, but let us be real, some people are born main characters and others are just background noise.
Our boy was ready to skip the drama and find a new route, but then he hears some warrior screaming about selling his soul just to get revenge.
That is the universal signal for an edgy MC to step in and make things 10 times more violent. Yunseal stops dead in his tracks because he feels a familiar kind of hatred radiating from the guy. It is like looking into a dark mirror, and suddenly, bypassing the conflict is no longer on the menu. Change of plans, folks.
Yunseal decides to join the party, and by party, I mean a complete bloodbath.
He is moving in while everyone else is still trying to figure out which way is up in the middle of the chaos.
Some hidden assassin thinks he is slick using a forbidden concealment technique, but Yunseal just shuts that down mid-air. The look of pure terror on this fraud's face is priceless as he wonders if he just ran into a professional reaper.
Honestly, these high-tier stealth techniques are nothing but a minor annoyance to Yunseal at this point. Thanks to the wild beast path, he can practically smell the desperation on these losers before they even draw their blades. He is walking through the carnage with the kind of cold energy that makes even the shadows want to run away. While the assassins are busy dying, he is just judging their poor life choices and even worse combat skills. He spots the last survivor of the group and decides to play guardian angel for a second. Not because he is a nice guy, but because he is bored and wants to see how this tragic revenge plot actually ends. RMC is actually feeling a bit philosophical. He is genuinely curious to know what it feels like to finally accomplish a long-sought vengeance.
Does it taste like victory, or just more bitter blood?
He intervenes with terrifying efficiency, turning the assassins into human confetti.
They really thought they had the upper hand until the local monster decided to clock in for his shift.
The battlefield is becoming a literal gallery of red, and Yunseal is the one holding the paintbrush. These guys are getting deleted faster than a bad browser history, and it is absolutely glorious to watch. He clears the path so the survivor can finally land that finishing blow. It is almost poetic, if you can ignore the pile of severed limbs and the heavy scent of iron hanging in the air.
The survivor finally claims his revenge, laughing like a total psycho in a mix of relief and pure exhaustion.
It is that specific kind of high you only get when your enemies are finally rotting in the dirt. But just as Yunseal is about to ask his big question, the atmosphere shifts completely.
Someone thinks they are brave enough to try a betrayal, and boy, are they about to regret ever being born.
The traitor tries a sneak attack, but Yunseal thwarts it like he is swatting a fly. He is more annoyed that his interview with the survivor got ruined than he is about the literal murder attempt on his life.
Yunseal drops a truth bomb, revealing that he has been aware of this hostile intent from the very first second they met.
Imagine being such a trash actor that the guy you are trying to kill is just embarrassed for you. He calls out the massive cache of hidden weapons stuffed under the guy's clothes. Apparently, carrying a whole armory makes your spine move as stiffly as a wooden board. Local fraud caught in 4K. Why did he keep him around? Because Yunseal was curious to see how a pathetic loser goes about trying to deceive someone. He was basically using the guy as a case study for future idiots.
The traitor is having a full-blown mental breakdown, screaming that his acting was perfect and his concealment was flawless.
Buddy, you are a walking red flag with a death wish, just give it up already.
He starts trembling as he realizes Yunseal can predict his every move.
It is not even a fight anymore, it is just a predator playing with his food before the final crunch. Yoonseol delivers the final, chilling line, "Even the best hidden weapons are useless once you have been caught." He neutralizes the threat with zero effort and continues his journey through this deadly trial like the boss he is.
You think being a martial arts prodigy is all sunshine and rainbows? Think again.
Yoonseol just finished a fight that almost sent him to the afterlife early, and he is not exactly celebrating. He is standing over a fresh corpse, realizing that the only reason he is not the one leaking red is because he knew about his opponent's hidden weapons beforehand. Talk about a close call for our main man. As he watches the light fade from this poor loser's eyes, Yoonseol gets all philosophical. He spent way too much time as an undertaker, so he recognizes that desperate, pathetic look. Every dying person has that same obsession with living, but on this island, wishing does not keep your head on your shoulders. It is cold, it is brutal, and it is exactly how we like it. He looks over at the survivor who finally got his revenge, and instead of feeling hyped, Yoonseol is just confused.
He is wondering if he will ever find peace like that or if he will ever be able to smile once his own bloody checklist is done.
Honestly, with the way things are going, finding a spa day on this island seems more likely than finding inner peace. But wait, we are not alone. A mysterious observer is lurking in the shadows like a total creep, and he is actually impressed. He cannot believe this kid is out here bodying trained assassins using nothing but the basic tier moves of the Fire Rain Sword sect. It is like watching someone win a pro tournament using only the tutorial buttons. This shadow dweller admits Yoonseol has got talent, but don't get it twisted. This is Hell Island, and talent is as common as dirt here. If Yoonseol doesn't level up his game fast, he is going to end up as just another nameless skeleton in the woods. The hype is real, but the survival rate is looking real low right now. The very next day, the intensity goes from 0 to 100 real quick. The trial has turned into a literal fever dream where one lone trainee is being hunted through the forest like he is the last piece of meat at a buffet. A pack of hungry competitors is closing in, and they are not looking to share.
Our boy realizes he is at a massive disadvantage in the open field.
Being surrounded in the woods is a one-way ticket to a coffin, so he starts searching for a way to flip the script. He needs to change the environment before these thirsty mobs catch up and turn him into a human pincushion. High above the carnage, the instructors are watching the chaos like it is a reality TV show. They drop a bombshell: only 41 out of the 86 trainees are still breathing after just 3 days. That is more than half the class deleted already. These instructors are absolutely savage and they are not even done yet. The head instructor, who clearly has no soul, decides the survivors are getting too comfortable.
He thinks it is time to tighten the noose and see who really wants to live.
He pulls out a map and prepares to shrink the safe zone, herding all the survivors toward the central buildings. It is basically a battle royale, and the circle is closing in. To make things even more spicy, they are preparing to unleash something called killer demons into the area. Because apparently, being hunted by 40 other psychos wasn't enough, now they have to deal with literal demons. The management on this island really needs a 1-star review on Yelp. Back on the ground, the hunted trainee is actually playing 4D chess. He successfully lures his pursuers right into the cramped interior of the Fire Rain Sword sect building. He knows that in a tight space, numbers don't mean squat if you know how to use the walls as your allies. Welcome to his house, idiots.
The pursuers are grinning like they just won the lottery, thinking they have finally cornered their prey.
They are talking big, but they have no idea they just walked into a trap.
It is the classic mistake of thinking you are the hunter when you are actually just the delivery boy bringing the main character a snack.
Their confidence evaporates instantly when the boy uses a shallow trick to vanish and pop up right behind them. It is the ultimate nothing personal, kid moment.
These thugs are shaking in their boots because they realize they aren't dealing with a victim. They are dealing with the nightmare.
The attackers are absolutely horrified to find out that Yoonseol can read the paths of their sword techniques with supernatural clarity. It is like he is seeing their moves in slow motion while they are just flailing around like toddlers. You can't hit what you can't surprise, and these guys are about as predictable as a filler episode.
One of the thugs finally realizes the gravity of their situation, but it is way too late.
They are stuck in an enclosed space where their wide, powerful swings are physically impossible to pull off. They are literally hitting the walls while Yunseal is just waiting for his turn to end their careers. Yunseal observes that in such tight quarters, these losers have to shorten their attacks. This weakens their force and makes every single movement so predictable it is almost boring for him. Since these thugs lack the skill to adapt, he starts picking them apart one by one in the shadows like a true slasher movie villain. The chaos hits a peak when one absolute genius tries to use a whip in a stone room. Big surprise, it bounces off the wall and leaves him completely exposed. Imagine bringing a whip to a sword fight and then getting styled on because you don't understand basic physics. You love to see it. Terrified by the sudden reversal, the group tries to flee the building, but the doors might as well be locked. The predator they were hunting has officially become their judge, jury, and executioner. But just as things look settled, a massive shadow looms over the scene. Is this the end or just a new level of hell? The atmosphere turns heavy as a new presence enters the fray, looking like a literal final boss.
The survivors who thought they were safe are now staring death in the face once again.
On Hell Island, the only reward for surviving a fight is an even harder fight immediately after. This new monster is not here to talk, he is here to cull the weak.
As Yunseal faces down this overwhelming pressure, we realize the real trial is only just beginning. If you thought the first few days were bad, you are not ready for the absolute slaughterhouse that is coming next.
Imagine being such a pathetic coward that your own captain has to jump scare you just to stop you from running away like a headless chicken.
These guys thought they could just clock out early, but their boss is a total psycho who finds the idea of fleeing from one kid absolutely hilarious and insulting.
Enter Wu Munching, a man with an ego so massive it needs its own zip code. He is basically looking at everyone who failed to make it into the advanced chamber as literal trash. This man is not just a loudmouth though. He instantly clocks Yunseal's fire rain sword style like he is reading a manual, showing off that he is actually a threat. When Yunseal tries to introduce himself, Munching literally laughs in his face. Why bother learning the name of a kid who is going to be a corpse in 5 seconds? Talk about zero chill. The battle kicks off and Munching starts dropping spoilers about the school curriculum. He knows all about the shining mystique, the secret defensive move Yunseal was counting on.
Yunseal is internally screaming because how does this random captain have a better information network than a high-end spy agency?
His secret moves are basically public knowledge at this point. Munching does not give him a second to breathe. He starts swinging like a maniac, smashing everything in the room to bits just because he can.
Our boy Yunseal realizes that fighting in a phone booth against a wrecking ball is a terrible idea.
There is zero advantage when your opponent is busy deleting the architecture. The captain is still talking trash, claiming Yunseal's skills are basically amateur hour compared to a true master. He is really leaning into that arrogant mid-boss energy.
Every time Yunseal thinks he has a gap, Munching is there to remind him that he is outclassed.
It is a total struggle session for our protagonist right now. Yunseal is pushed to the edge and starts doing the math. The shining mystique is great for blocking, but it has zero kick. It is like bringing a shield to a nuke fight. He knows if he wants to survive, he needs something that can literally slice through steel. He is searching for that one-shot destructive power to flip the script.
Munching thinks the fight is over and laughs at Yunseal's final struggle.
He really should have watched more anime, because the quiet ones are always the most dangerous. Boom! Yunseal drops the hammer and unleashes the unrivaled lightning and thunder. It is a secret technique so flashy it probably blinded half the sect. Munching's face goes from arrogant to absolutely terrified in a split second. He was expecting a trainee, but he just got hit by a literal force of nature. The captain is down for the count, but Yunseal is looking rough. Turns out using a god-tier move when you are still a low-level player has some nasty side effects.
Our hero is coughing up blood and admitting that the move is way too advanced for his current body.
He won the fight, but he is running on fumes and he knows it.
He realizes he has wasted way too much time playing with this loudmouth.
The restricted regions are about to shift, and he needs to move before he gets trapped. But of course, the universe hates him. As he turns to leave, he comes face to face with a literal killer demon.
If you thought the last guy was bad, this absolute monster is on a whole different level.
Imagine being so lost you accidentally wander into a restricted zone and find a literal killer demon staring you down.
Yoonseol realizes he is in deep trouble, and his previous fight was just a warm-up for this nightmare. Our boy really thought he could just peaceful walk his way out of this like he forgot his keys.
He tries to step out of the zone quietly, but this masked freak is not about that life. Before he can even blink, the demon lunges with the kind of speed that makes your internet connection look fast. It is a literal snake strike from hell, and Yoonseol is the unlucky mouse. If it was not for the wild beast path giving him cheat code instincts, Yoonseol would have been a headless statue. He barely senses the strike as it whistles past his neck, and the realization hits him that he is outclassed. He is sweating bullets because one wrong move means instant game over. He is forced into a defensive crouch, clutching his sword like a lifeline while the demon just stands there looking like a final boss. Time for a quick mental flashback to his training. He remembers the lesson about tigers hunting deer. Even though the tiger is faster, the deer stays alive by zigzagging like a pro gamer. But there is a catch. Apex predators always win because they do not just run, they time their strike to the exact millisecond the prey commits to a direction. It is all about the timing, and this demon is a master of it. So how do you beat a timing god? You make your movements so chaotic and unpredictable that even the demon starts questioning his life choices. Yoonseol prepares to turn his brain off and go full beast mode. He lets out a yell and starts moving. He has to break the rhythm and disrupt the master's flow, otherwise, he is just a deer waiting for the butcher. He baits the demon with a predictable zigzag, acting like a total amateur to lure out a strike. It is a high-stakes gamble that would make any sane person run for the hills. The demon bites the bait, but Yoonseol switches to his beast-like movements at the last second. He is dodging lethal slashes by hair-widths, looking for that one tiny opening to escape the death zone. The pursuit is relentless. The demon is right on his heels, sword ready to turn him into sushi. Yoonseol is pushing his body past the limit, realizing he is still way too slow for this level of play. Yoonseol is left huffing and puffing, realizing he was just a tiny frog in a very deep well. He could barely dodge, let alone fight back. This was a massive reality check for his ego.
He stares into the distance, thinking about the psycho who killed his grandfather. If that killer is on the same level as this demon, Yoonseol needs a serious training montage before he even thinks about revenge.
But the universe does not give him a break. A new challenger named Fong AK emerges from the trees, and this guy already knows Yoonseol's name and his secret wild beast path training. Talk about a stalker alert. Fong AK is a total hater, calling Yoonseol a demon seedling that needs to be uprooted before he grows up.
He is not here for a chat. He is here to end the bloodline right now.
As they clash, Yoonseol feels a weird sensation. It is like his opponent's chi is a literal vortex, drawing him in. This triggers a core memory of his grandfather explaining the most annoying martial arts style in history. Fong AK is impressed that our boy predicted his trajectory, but he is still determined to finish the job.
He is one of those righteous warriors who thinks killing kids is a public service.
The Hebei Fong clan's 5 tiger severing blades is no joke. It is a style that shatters your bones from the inside without even leaving a scratch on your skin. It is basically the ultimate stop hitting yourself technique. The technique uses a powerful absorption effect that pulls the opponent's weapon and body toward the user. It is like fighting a human black hole, and Yoonseol is getting sucked right into the kill zone. Yoonseol struggles to keep his grip as the chi flow messes with his head.
He needs to clear his thoughts and remember the weakness his grandfather mentioned, or he is going to be bone meal.
The absorption is a double-edged sword because the attacker has to get uncomfortably close to land the blow. If Yoonseol can just find a way to stay grounded, he can turn that vortex into a trap. He remembers the lesson perfectly now. This man died to the 5 tiger severing blades because his bones were fractured internally. It is a terrifying way to go, and Fong AK is looking to repeat history. Fong AK is shocked that this seedling actually knows the name of his clan's secret art. Yoonseol is not just a random brat, He is a brat with a very dangerous encyclopedia for a brain. The vortex starts pulling again, but this time Yunseal has a plan. He is not going to fight the pull, he is going to use it against this arrogant master. Like a vortex pulling everything inward, the Feng style relies on interfering with the opponent's weapon. It is a clever trick, but every trick has a counter if you are crazy enough to try it. Feng AK fights just like a tiger, aggressive and overwhelming.
But Yunseal realizes that by getting closer, the attacker is also exposing their own vitals.
It is time for a high-risk counterplay.
To stop himself from being sucked in, Yunseal does the unthinkable and plunges his sword deep into the ground.
He is literally anchoring himself to the earth like a human tent stake. Feng AK is absolutely stunned. He has never seen someone use their own sword as an anchor before. His perfect absorption technique is failing, and he is losing his cool. With the pull neutralized, the momentum shifts. Feng AK is wide open, and Yunseal's eyes are glowing with that beastly intent. The hunter has just become the prey, and it is about to get very violent. He resisted the absorption and is now preparing a counterstrike that Feng AK never saw coming. This demon seedling is about to show this clan master exactly why you should never mess with a wild animal. The shock on Feng AK's face is priceless.
He really thought this would be an easy win, but Yunseal is proving that beastly instincts always trump fancy clan techniques.
Our boy flashes a smirk because the plan is working perfectly. He is about to deliver a counterstrike that will leave this master questioning his entire life. Stay tuned, because the real hunt is just beginning.
Our boy Yunseal realizes that playing dirty only gets you so far when you are fighting a boomer who has been training since the dawn of time.
His little trick worked, but it dealt about as much damage as a mosquito bite to this monster. He knows he needs to switch up the meta immediately if he wants to keep his head attached to his shoulders. It is time for a quick history lesson on how to actually be fast. Yunseal remembers the secret to true speed: stop trying to be the first one to move. You just have to wait for your opponent to commit to their strike and then react a split second faster. It is basically the ultimate know-you in martial arts form. Instead of fighting against that crazy energy-absorbing vacuum technique, Yunseal decides to just go with the flow. He is using the enemy's own pulling force to turn himself into a human railgun. By flowing with the pull and snapping his sword's trajectory at the very last second, he leaves his opponent looking absolutely clueless. Feng AK is currently having a midlife crisis in the middle of a battlefield. He cannot wrap his ancient brain around how a literal child is precisely manipulating such a volatile and high-level power. Seeing his legendary technique get toyed with by a brat is clearly dealing more emotional damage than physical. Yunseal is basically mocking the old man at this point, observing that the harder Feng AK tries to suck him in, the faster and more lethal his own blade becomes. It is a total backfire. The stronger the absorption, the quicker the delivery of a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Realizing his signature move is a total liability, Feng AK finally shuts off the vacuum and tries to win with a basic physical assault.
He thinks going back to the basics will save him, but little does he know, he is walking right into the most obvious trap of the century.
This shift in tactics is exactly what Yunseal was waiting for. He has been sitting on a secret technique from the Fire Rain sword style just for this moment. While the old man is busy charging in like a brainless mob, our protagonist is busy preparing to end this entire man's career. Here comes the main event. Yunseal unleashes the first technique, the Shining Mystique. But because he is a rebel who does not follow the manual, he reinterprets the move. He takes a purely defensive technique and flips the script, converting it into a direct, high-damage offensive nuke. The explosion of power is absolutely glorious. Feng AK gets hit with the full weight of Yunseal's genius, and the battlefield is looking like a total disaster zone. It is clear that the expert swordsman just got schooled by a kid who clearly does not care about his seniority. Even after securing the win, Yunseal decides to be the ultimate cold protagonist. He tells the defeated warrior that he is just going to leave him there because the man is not even worth being a part of his revenge list. Imagine being so irrelevant that the guy who just beat you won't even bother finishing you off. As Yunseal walks away like a boss, a mysterious hooded figure pops out of the shadows. Turns out the Demon Palace has been watching this entire failure like a reality TV show. They have no use for tools that break, and they decide to give Feng AK the permanent retirement he deserves. We jump over to Seo Jinha, and things are looking incredibly spicy for her, and not in a good way. She is currently running for her life from a group of specialists who love using stealth weapons and poison arts. It is basically a ninja's worst nightmare come to life.
Jinya realizes she is in deep trouble, because she has been hit by a special poison from the hellish blood castle.
Fighting alone while your internal organs are basically turning into soup is not exactly a winning strategy, and she knows her options are running out fast. The pursuers are the typical arrogant trash talkers we love to hate. They start mocking her because she is a right-handed swordsman forced to use her left hand.
They really think she is a defenseless kitten just because her dominant arm is out of commission.
The audacity of these low-tier mobs is unreal.
Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, another poison needle finds its mark. Jinha does the math and realizes she has exactly 15 minutes to find an antidote before her life officially reaches the game over screen.
The clock is ticking, and the Reaper is basically breathing down her neck. Jinha prepares for a final, desperate stand, ready to take as many of these losers with her as possible. But suddenly, the hunters become the ones getting hunted. An unexpected ambush from the shadows starts shredding the group that was chasing her, proving that there is always a bigger fish in the pond. The goons are getting absolutely decimated by this mystery attacker. One moment they were laughing, and the next they are becoming permanent residents of the forest floor. Jinha can only watch in shock as her certain death is interrupted by this high-speed massacre. Who is this Shadow Slayer? Stay tuned to find out.
Imagine stumbling upon your rival dying of poison and your first thought is that she is too weak to even bother killing.
That is exactly the level of disrespect our MC is serving today as he looks down at a literal corpse in waiting. Jinha is sweating bullets because she has less than 10 minutes before the poison turns her internal organs into a smoothie, and here comes Yunseal casually flexing the antidote like it is a rare gotcha pull. Our boy is a straight-up menace, telling her to her face that he only came here to catch bodies, but she is currently such a disappointment he does not even feel the need to finish her off. Realizing she is dealing with a predator and not a simp, Jinha pivots faster than a politician. She tries to sell him on a strategic alliance because there are only 20 contestants left and most are teaming up. She offers the ultimate bribe, her brain. She knows the martial arts of every single fighter left on this island, and she promises to be his personal Wikipedia of violence if he just hands over the bottle. Yunseal does a quick vibe check and decides that despite her massive ego, she is too desperate to pull a fast one right now. He agrees to a pact where they will backstab everyone else first and save their 1v1 for the very end. He tosses the antidote over like it is trash, and Jinha gulps it down while realizing she just signed a deal with the devil. No romance here, folks, just two psychos trying to survive a death game. The romantic mood is interrupted by a heavy bell because the palace just restricted a new zone. If they stay here, they are basically volunteering to be deleted, forcing the new duo to move their feet immediately. But wait, the gank squad has arrived. A group of high-level trainees has been tracking them, and they are not here for an autograph. They have identified Yunseal and Jinha as the biggest threats to their win streak. These enemies are actually smart for once, which is a total red flag.
They have surrounded the duo, knowing that the shrinking safe zones will eventually force everyone into one big, bloody mosh pit.
They even call out Yunseal for mastering the wild beast path, proving they have been doing their homework while everyone else was busy dying. They are not underestimating our MC, which makes them 10 times more dangerous.
Jinya decides it is time to earn her keep, and pulls out a bottle of powder, claiming it is lethal poison from the hellish blood castle.
It is a bold move, Cotton, let us see if it pays off.
Purple smoke explodes everywhere, and the enemies start coughing and panicking like they just walked into a gas chamber.
It is a glorious bluff that gives our duo the 3-second head start they desperately need.
The enemies realize they have been played like a cheap fiddle when they realize the poison is just fancy smoke.
Now they are triggered and in full pursuit, chasing Jinha and Yunseal through the woods. Yunseal is leading the way toward the rock formations, looking for a narrow cave. He wants to funnel these losers into a bottleneck where their numbers do not mean squat, which is top-tier combat IQ. They finally reach the rocks, but the vibes are immediately rancid. A thick, purple fog is rolling in, and it is not the fun kind you see at a concert. It is the "you are about to die" kind. Surprised Pikachu FaceTime. The very area they were running to has been declared a restricted zone by the palace. It is like the game developers are actively trying to nerf our MC in real time. Killer demons are literally chilling in the mist, just waiting for someone to trip over the line.
Yoonseol realizes the palace officials are intentionally manipulating the map to force this confrontation.
Since they cannot go forward and they cannot go back, Yoonseol decides to use the restricted border as a literal wall. If their backs are to the demons, the mob can only attack them from one direction. It is a high-stakes gamble where one wrong step means getting shredded by demons, but Jinha trusts his crazy plan. They draw their blades and prepare to welcome the incoming trash with open arms. The pursuit group catches up and their leader looks like he is having the time of his life.
He orders a total assault, thinking he has trapped 2 rats in a corner, but he has no idea he is about to enter a blender.
The blades are out, the energy is peaking, and the final clash is about to begin.
These trainees thought they were the hunters, but they are about to find out why Yoonseol is the one everyone should be fearing.
Welcome to Hell Island, where the atmosphere is officially suffocating and the final battle to decide the 10 demon masters is turning into a literal bloodbath.
Amidst the frantic clashing of steel, our lone warrior is out here gasping for air like he is running a marathon through a meat grinder. He is haunted by the sudden and terrifying realization that his journey might end right here as a permanent resident of the dirt, and the fear is real.
Looking back at all the blood and sweat he invested into this insane trial, he starts questioning if he can actually say he has no regrets, as his life hangs by a thread.
But then a surge of pure, desperate energy takes over, and he screams out his refusal to die, clinging to his existence with every single scrap of strength he has left.
He starts moving like a man possessed, and his enemies are left buffering in total confusion because they cannot comprehend the bizarre and lethal sword technique he is unleashing.
These trash-tier trainees finally realize he is a major threat and start screeching for their allies to stop holding back and focus every ounce of power on killing him first. In the absolute heat of this life-or-death struggle, a memory hits him like a truck, reminding him to stop overthinking like a nerd and let his senses take the wheel. He flashes back to the legendary pavilion master Sa Wu, the man who drilled it into his head that thinking is for the weak and instincts are for the survivors.
It is time to tap into that hidden reservoir of skill and reveal the powerful sword arts passed down from Sa Wu to turn this entire battlefield into his personal stage. He prepares to flip the script, hoping that these secret techniques will be enough to turn the tide against the mob of hungry wolves circling him. However, the chaos is just too much, and a momentary lapse in his defense allows a sneaky opponent to land a heavy, impactful blow that looks like it hurt his ancestors. The attackers let out a cold, toxic laugh, fully believing our boy is as good as dead now that they have finally caught him with a decisive strike.
The situation takes a nosedive into a disaster, as the sheer force of the attack sends his body reeling backward across the blood-stained ground.
Everyone watches in absolute horror, as they realize the physics of his fall are carrying him straight toward the one place you never want to go.
A collective gasp goes up as he officially crosses into the restricted area, a death sentence zone where the elite executioners of the Demon Palace haunt the Forbidden Mist.
Imagine being so good at murder that the guy in charge of your execution decides you're too precious to die.
Yoonseol is currently looking like a human pincushion on the brink of death, and the head instructor is absolutely losing his mind.
This is peak I can fix him energy, but with swords.
The old man is screaming for a physician like he's at a Black Friday sale, completely ignoring the fact that the trial is supposed to be a bloodbath.
Someone tries to remind him that pausing the third trial is basically career suicide, but the instructor just hits them with the "I will take full responsibility" line.
Absolute unit behavior right there. Why the sudden favoritism for our boy? Apparently, Yoonseol is a rare jewel. He's got that perfect, toxic balance of insane reflexes, an unbending spirit, and enough murderous intent to make a demon blush. Enter Elder Hwa Wimyeong, the local fun police from the Demon Palace.
He's not happy.
The plan was to pick 12 elite survivors, but thanks to this unauthorized rescue mission, we've got some extras. The instructor is officially getting punished for his mercy, but he's just smirking.
He's confident that once the big bosses see Yoonseol's value, they'll realize his mistake was actually a massive win.
4 days later, Yoonseol finally opens his eyes. He wakes up in a room that smells like a pharmacy and a graveyard had a baby. Welcome to the medical facility of your nightmares, kid. He checks his body and, surprise! His internal organs aren't soup anymore. The physician from the Demon Palace is clearly using cheat codes because every single wound has been perfectly sealed. Now that he's not actively dying, he's led to the center of Hell Island. This place was a restricted zone during the trial, probably because it's where the real high society psychos hang out. Most people would be traumatized after almost meeting their ancestors, but Yoonseol? He just sits down and orders 2 bowls of noodles. Food is life, and this man is a legendary glutton for punishment.
While he's trying to enjoy his carbs, Seo Jinha crawls out of the woodwork to give him the big thank you speech.
She genuinely believes he's the only reason she's still breathing. Yoonseol hits her with the ultimate didn't ask energy. He coldly tells her he wasn't saving her, he was just deleting the enemies who happened to be standing in his way. The level of edge is off the charts. Jinha drops the real tea, you've been unconscious for 4 days, buddy. And the only reason you're alive is because the head instructor sacrificed his entire position just to pull you out of the fire. They were patched up by the mad physician. This guy used to be the divine hand until his lover died and his mental health went into the bin. If you're still breathing, he can fix you, but he's definitely unhinged. Yoonseol starts getting emo, wishing his grandfather could have met a doctor this cracked. Then Jinha reveals that those murderers they fought were actually masters sent to grade their performance. Our boy is left deeply confused. Why would a complete stranger lose his job and get kicked back to the palace just to save a kid he doesn't even know? Nothing about this demonic logic makes sense. A massive signal suddenly echoes across the island, ending the therapy session. The survivors are being summoned because the powerful executives of the 10 demonic sects have finally arrived to claim their prizes.
Imagine surviving a literal death trial just to realize the real monsters are the ones hiring you.
The air is so thick with killing intent you could cut it with a butter knife as the masters of the 10 demonic sects show up to claim their new subordinates. It is eerily quiet, the kind of silence that usually happens right before someone loses a limb. These elite masters are not here for small talk.
They are looking for the best of the best, or at least the ones who did not die screaming.
Among the heavy hitters, we see the big bosses looking down at the survivors like they are picking out prime rib at a butcher shop. Bull Sa, the vice master of the necromancer sect, steps forward looking like he has not slept since the Han dynasty. He points a bony finger at a guy named Yang Munho and basically tells him he is drafted. Congratulations, you are now part of the creepiest sect in the neighborhood. Munho looks like he just got told he is allergic to breathing. He is hesitant because he has spent his whole life simping for the sword. He tells the old man that he has never even touched a spear, so why the sudden career change? Bulsa basically tells him to shut up and listen to his elders. Apparently, Munho was born with a physique that is 100% optimized for the necromancy spear. That is why his swordsmanship was mid at best. He has been using the wrong tool for the job this whole time. Realizing his life as a mediocre swordsman is over, Munho follows the creepy old man like a lost puppy.
But the show is just getting started, because next up is Jeok Yahon, the Vice Castle Master of the Hellish Blood Castle.
This guy is a walking biohazard who can delete everything within 30 paces just by waving his hand. Yahan has his eyes on Seo Jinha, the girl everyone calls a sword genius.
She thinks she is being scouted for her blade skills, but Yahan is smiling like he knows a scandalous secret.
And spoiler alert, he definitely does.
Jinha is confused, wondering why a poison master wants a sword girl.
But Yahon drops a truth bomb that shuts her up real quick.
He knows exactly what she did during the trial.
He knows she is a cold-blooded psycho who manipulated and murdered her way to the finish line.
He is not even mad about it. In fact, he loves it. He praises her for having a poisonous heart, which is apparently the highest compliment you can get in a demonic castle.
He tells her that while she thinks she is talented with a blade, she is actually a natural-born poisoner.
Jinha tries to play it off, saying she only killed people to survive or because they tried to kill her first. But Yahan is not buying the innocent act. He knows she killed that girl from the marshal office just to silence her. He is basically saying, I see your red flags, and they match my decor. Yahan gets real with her, explaining that only a few chosen ones can truly rule the Murim with a sword. He tells her she will never reach the top with a blade, but with poison? She could be a goddess of death.
Jinha looks at the freakish talent around her and realizes he is right.
She is officially joining the poison squad. Hayakun expects Yunseal to fall to his knees in gratitude. I mean, who would not want to join the prestigious Fire Rainsword sect? But Yunseal just stands there with a straight face and pulls the ultimate no thank you on the most dangerous man on the island. The entire room goes dead silent. You can literally hear the other candidates' hearts stopping. Yunseal does not just reject him, he announces he wants to go to the Wandering Beast Pavilion instead. That is like turning down a Ferrari to drive a broken tricycle. Hayakun is about to draw his sword and turn Yunseal into confetti when a wild elder saw appears. The old man steps right into the path of the sword demon to protect his student. It is a clash of titans, and the pressure is so intense the other candidates are probably praying for a quick death. The standoff is peak drama. We have two of the most powerful masters on the island ready to level the building over one stubborn kid. The air is literally vibrating with power, and it looks like a massacre is about to break out any second.
Just as things are about to get bloody, a mysterious and authoritative voice booms through the hall.
It is cold, powerful, and leaves no room for argument.
The voice orders the masters to stop their temper tantrum immediately, leaving us all wondering who is big enough to boss around a sword demon.
The sword demon is fuming, his red aura still flickering like a dying candle, but even he has to respect the authority of the voice. Yunseal is still standing, somehow, looking like he just survived a hurricane while everyone else is just trying to remember how to breathe. Elder Saw keeps his guard up, knowing that the sword demon is a ticking time bomb. The tension is still high enough to snap a steel beam. This is not just a recruitment anymore, it is a declaration of war between sects over a boy who clearly does not know when to keep his mouth shut. As the heavy atmosphere begins to settle, the reality of Yunseal's choice sinks in. He has officially made the most powerful man in the Murim his enemy on day one.
If you thought the trial was hard, the real nightmare is just beginning for our boy.
Just when our boy was about to become a permanent stain on the floor, Vice Master Dan Chong slides in with that classic let's all just be friends energy. He's rocking the earrings and the I'm way too calm for this vibe, trying to talk the sword demon out of a murder spree. Dan Chong basically begs for a pass, and honestly, the audacity of this man to ask a top-tier psycho for a favor is kind of a mood. He's the vice master of the Wandering Beast Pavilion, and apparently, his job description includes babysitting legendary monsters. The sword demon is clearly not a fan of being interrupted mid-slaughter, but he decides to be a nice guy just this once.
He tells them to get lost before he changes his mind and decides to see what their insides look like, which is the most aggressive have a nice day I've ever heard.
Our main lead Yunseal is just standing there trying to remember how to breathe.
He realizes that if these two powerhouses hadn't played nice, he'd be nothing but a memory. It's that classic moment where you realize you're the side character in someone else's boss fight.
As they walk away, Yunseal is still replaying that murderous energy in his head. He's officially traumatized, and honestly, who can blame him? The sword demon wasn't just flexing, he was genuinely ready to send Yunseal to the afterlife on a one-way ticket. Walking back to safety, Dan Chong starts acting like they didn't just escape a meat grinder.
He's complimenting Master Sa Wu on his growth, while Yunseal is just trailing behind like a lost puppy, who realized the world is actually a very scary place.
Welcome to the Wandering Beast Pavilion, folks.
It looks less like a grand sect and more like a cozy village where people actually mind their own business.
They're all about that self-sufficient life, probably because they're too busy being beasts to care about commercial rights. Yunseal is looking around expecting some dark, edgy fortress, but instead, he gets a farmer's market. He's totally confused because the vibes are way too wholesome for a place that's supposed to be full of legendary fighters. Our boy asks the million-dollar question, where are all the kids my age? And the answer is peak Manhwa savagery.
Dan Chong just casually mentions that most trainees either ran away screaming or straight up died during the training.
Talk about a high turnover rate. So basically, the survival rate here is lower than my chances of winning the lottery.
Yunseal realizes he's joined a sect where the graduation ceremony is just staying alive.
It's not a school, it's a survival horror game with better scenery. They show him his new luxury suite, which is basically a wooden shack, and introduce him to the local blacksmith, Wangul.
This guy looks like he eats iron for breakfast and probably hasn't smiled since the last dynasty.
Master Sa Wu has to head out because apparently, protecting Yunseal comes with a price. He's got to face a light punishment, which in this world usually means something way worse than just sitting in a corner. Dan Chong is still smiling, which is officially a red flag. The philosophy is simple, you're either the living embodiment of the pavilion or you're just taking up space. Dan Chong tells him that everyone here is a potential mentor, but here's the catch, they have to actually like you enough to teach you. Good luck with that. He finally reaches the top, huffing and puffing like he's run a marathon, and meets the resident master. This guy is buff, bald, and looks like he could crush a boulder with his pinky. He's immediately suspicious of why this kid is even here. The master takes one look at Yunseal and gets a major glitch in his brain. He senses true chi just oozing out of the boy's body like he's a leaky faucet of power. It's the kind of energy you only get from years of brutal training, yet Yunseal looks like he's never touched a manual. Yunseal drops the most main character backstory ever. He claims he was just a humble mortician's assistant and never learned a single cultivation technique.
The master's face says it all. He either thinks the kid is a genius or the world's biggest liar. The master grabs him to check his stats and realizes things are even weirder.
Yunseal has a massive hoard of true chi packed into his lower dantian, but it's not circulating at all. It's like having a supercar with no engine, it shouldn't even be possible to stay alive like this. We end on a massive cliffhanger with the master demanding to know who taught him this forbidden way of hoarding energy. Our boy Yunseal is just standing there looking confused while the master is having a full-blown existential crisis over his chi. Stay tuned, because the Mortician might just be the most broken character in the sect. Imagine your master looking at you like you just committed a crime because you do not even know how to breathe. Our scarred bald head here is genuinely concerned that his new disciple is a total amateur with zero mental discipline. But then the kid drops a bombshell, explaining that his grandpa taught him a specific way to breathe just so he could play dead in a coffin more realistically.
He starts demonstrating this corpse breathing, and the master is absolutely losing his mind because this absolute madman is circulating chi while standing up. This is not just some weird hobby. The master realizes this kid is pulling off a high-level feat that usually requires sitting in deep meditation for hours.
He demands to know who taught him this, and the kid just shrugs like it is no big deal, unaware he is flexing on the entire Murim world. The master does a quick vibe check on the boy's energy and nearly has a heart attack when he finds 10 years worth of internal energy stored in his dantian.
He realizes this coffin play was actually a top-tier cultivation hack disguised as a childhood game, and the kid has been farming XP his entire life.
When the master asks for the grandpa's name, the kid casually drops the name Bujanyang. The atmosphere turns heavy enough to crush a mountain because there is only one man in history with that name, and he is a literal legend of the demonic path. We are talking about the former vice master of the Demon Palace, the strongest swordsman to ever walk the dark side. The kid is standing there sweating buckets, trying to process how his humble mortician grandpa was actually a terrifying demonic overlord who probably ate rivals for breakfast. But wait, the plot thickens even more because the master recognizes the breathing style as a secret technique from the Shaolin sect. Yes, you heard that right, the strongest demon was teaching his grandson orthodox holy arts from the monks, which is basically the ultimate scandal in this world. Our boy Yunseal is currently having a midlife crisis at age 10 because if the Demon Palace finds out he is using monk techniques, they will not just cancel him, they will delete his entire existence. He is officially a walking target for both the good guys and the bad guys. The master decides to keep the secret for now, promising to train the boy to fulfill a debt to the Wandering Beast Pavilion. He is basically telling the kid that as long as he does not leak the secret, they are cool, but the moment he slips up, things are going to get very messy. To prove he is serious, the master drops a threat that would make a ghost turn pale, promising to kill everyone the boy has ever met if he exposes even a single character of this technique.
The kid just bows like a good little simp, accepting his fate under this psycho teacher. The master reveals his own name is Hyol Joomgang, and if you think that sounds edgy, it literally means blood.
He was once a top dog in the Azure Dragon Temple before he was framed for murder and turned into a martial arts outcast with sealed energy. He starts lecturing the boy on the difference between the paths, explaining that while the demonic way is a shortcut to power, it eventually breaks your body like a cheap toy. Orthodox arts might be slow, but they build a foundation that is basically indestructible in the long run. The master warns that the new technique he is about to teach is so brutal it goes beyond the demonic path. He is hyping it up as the most miraculous cultivation method in existence, but the fine print on this deal is absolutely terrifying. You know a technique is hardcore when the teacher tells you he was in so much pain during his training that he literally ate his own fingers just to stay sane. He is basically asking the kid if he is ready to go through a hell that makes death look like a spa day. He warns the boy that this process feels like scraping your bones with a rusty blade and gives him one last chance to quit. But Yunseal just gives him that blank stare, ready to take the hit because he has already spent half his life in a coffin anyway. The master stops holding back and unleashes a massive wave of energy, slamming his hands into the boy's chest. The entire area explodes with light as the chi starts shredding through every single vessel in the kid's body, looking for any sign of weakness.
The master is waiting for the kid to scream, cry, or faint from the unspeakable agony, but the boy just stands there like a statue.
He is so quiet and composed that the master starts wondering if he accidentally killed the kid or if he is just built different.
As the energy flows through, the master realizes the truth and it absolutely blows his mind.
There is zero resistance because the boy's body is perfectly pure, with absolutely no tainted energy or impurities clogging up his vessels. This kid is basically a cheat code for martial arts. Usually, this process releases a foul smell from all the trash inside a person's body, but for Yunseal, there is nothing but pure, clean energy. The master is grinning like a maniac now because he just found the perfect vessel to carry on his legacy and take over the world. He officially accepts the boy as his true successor, laughing like a villain because he knows they are about to become the biggest problem the Murim has ever seen. The bond is sealed, and the real hellish training finally begins. We fast forward 6 months into the future, and the scrawny kid we knew is officially gone. He has been training on a remote mountain peak, pushing his body past the limits of human endurance under the master's watchful, slightly psychotic eyes. The master decides it is time for a final exam and hurls a massive boulder at the kid just to see what happens. Our boy Yunseal does not even flinch, looking at the giant rock like it is just a minor inconvenience in his daily routine. With a single strike, he shatters the massive stone into dust, showing off a level of power that should be impossible for someone his age. He has completely mastered the miraculous cultivation technique and transformed into a literal beast. The dust settles to reveal a version of Yunseal that is absolutely shredded and radiating an aura of pure dominance. He has officially graduated from the school of eating your own fingers and is ready to show the demon palace exactly what happens when you combine monk arts with demonic legacy. The master looks on with pride, knowing he has created a monster that will flip the entire martial world upside down. Our pro corpse player is now a god-tier warrior, and heaven help anyone who stands in his way. Imagine being a legendary master and watching some kid speedrun your entire life's work in 6 months. Master Hyol is basically questioning his own existence because what took him 3 grueling years, Yunseal just mastered like it was a side quest. Our boy is finally fixing his broken body by mastering the circulation technique. He is dispersing all that hoarded true chi that was basically acting like a ticking time bomb inside him, and the glow-up is real. Yunseal is not just satisfied with feeling healthy, he is aiming for the top. He decides he is not leaving this spot until he hits the second level of this 8-tier technique, because why settle for being a bronze rank when you can be a literal god?
Suddenly, the air gets heavy and the master realizes something insane is happening.
Yunseal is not just practicing, he is having an accidental breakthrough that is about to blow the roof off this place. He actually does it, reaching the second level known as the realm of the untainted bone and muscle. It is the kind of power-up that turns your skeletal system into tempered steel, but there is always a catch with these forbidden arts. While his muscles are reaching peak efficacy, the burden on his physical frame is absolutely savage. It is like trying to run a jet engine inside a cardboard box, something is bound to snap, and it is looking like it will be Yunseal.
The kid starts coughing up blood and his internal organs are basically screaming for mercy.
He cannot restrain the volatile energy, and if he does not stop, he is going to turn into a very expensive puddle of human remains.
Master Hyol sees his prize student falling apart and realizes he has to step in.
Yunseal is literally fracturing from the inside out because his body is too small for the massive power he just unlocked. In a total boss move, the master decides to sacrifice his own primordial essence, true chi. This is not just some basic energy, it is his literal life force, and he is pouring it into Yunseal to keep the boy from exploding. The energy stabilization is intense, looking like a literal forest fire of spiritual power.
Yunseal gasps for air as the master forces the chaotic chi back into line, proving that the old man actually has a heart under that scary exterior.
Yunseal is low-key touched that this grumpy old warrior would give up his own life force for him. The master tries to act all tough and says he only did it because he cannot leave the pavilion until the kid learns properly, but we all know he is a total softie for his disciple. The master drops some heavy wisdom, telling Yunseal to forget about things like kindness or hatred.
He basically wants the kid to be a cold-blooded martial arts machine, because having feelings in this world is a one-way ticket to a shallow grave.
If Yunseal really wants to repay the debt, he has to reach the 8th level, the realm of great origin. The master admits even he only reached the 5th level, so he is basically asking the kid to become the greatest warrior in history. Since the basics are done, it is time for the real nightmare training. The master sends him to the western cliffs of the Wandering Beast Pavilion to master actual combat, basically telling him to go play on a deadly mountain until he is strong enough. They share a final, respectful moment before Yunseal heads off to his new training grounds. It is the end of an era, and the master watches him go, knowing he has created a literal monster of martial arts. 3 months fly by and the gossip mill is working overtime. Everyone is talking about how the founding divine squad absolutely annihilated the Azure Dragon Pavilion because they dared to touch one of their disciples. Talk about zero chill. Suddenly, some high-level players start moving in the shadows. We see the Wind Cloud squad making a dramatic return, jumping over rooftops because walking through the front door is apparently too mainstream for elite ninjas. Meet Baekhyun, the squad leader who loves a dramatic entrance more than life itself. He is standing on a roof like he is posing for a cover shoot, waiting to confront the Vice Pavilion Master about the new boy of the sect. The Vice Pavilion Master is just chilling, but Baekhyun is not here for small talk. He is pressed about the fact that they brought in a new demon master who was originally supposed to join a completely different sect. It turns out Yunseal is a total savage who rejected the Fire Rain Sword sect just to be here. This move has sparked a massive political firestorm, and the higher-ups are low-key terrified of the drama this kid is causing.
The Vice Master thinks it is hilarious that the Fire Rain leader is disappointed, but Baekhyun is not laughing.
Choosing the Wandering Beast Pavilion over a major sect is a massive flex that has put a target on all their backs. Baekhyun warns that the Demon Palace has been treating them like trash lately, and this recruitment just made things 10 times worse.
He thinks the Vice Master is living in a fantasy world, while real political wars are brewing.
The segment ends with Baekhyun demanding to know exactly where this new Demon Master is hiding. He warns that Yunseal's position is currently at stake, and if the kid is not as good as the hype, he is basically a dead man walking. Our boy is out here moving so fast he is basically a glitch in the Matrix. He is currently training under Go Wool, the legendary Swift Phantom, to learn a footwork technique that usually leaves disciples crippled for life. Imagine being such a freak of nature that your master has to introduce himself like he is meeting a final boss. Go-Wul is the grand thief, and he is teaching the agility art that breaks the laws of physics. Most people end up in a wheelchair trying this, but our MC? He reaches the 3rd level of mastery in just 1 month. The master is so shook that he is probably questioning his entire existence right now. Master Go-Wul is literally closing down his training hall because he finally found a worthy heir. He tells Yunseal that the basics are done and it is time to go out and catch some real bodies in combat to finish his training.
While the kid is out here literally walking on water like it is a casual Tuesday, the higher-ups are losing their minds over his progression.
This is not just talent, it is a full-on cheat code at this point. The pavilion masters are busy gossiping like schoolgirls about how he mastered the wild beast path in 2 weeks. Normal geniuses take years, but our boy is speedrunning the entire Murim world. Turns out, he had a little help from Master Sa Wu, who basically fed him ultimate spring spiritual water to unlock his transcendental nerves.
It is like giving a Ferrari rocket fuel and wondering why it is breaking records.
Now we get to the messy politics. The Demon Palace pushed this 10 demon masters plan to breed elite killers, but the 10 demonic sects are absolutely salty about it because their own heirs are getting overshadowed. These sect leaders are throwing a tantrum because they had to teach their secret arts to outsiders. It is basically a giant game of chess, and our MC is the piece that is about to flip the whole board. The White Demon Temple is especially vengeful because their leader's only son, Kong Murian, got deleted during the trials. They want someone to pay, and guess who is at the top of their hit list? It is a total saltfest. They cannot handle the fact that their precious successors died while this random kid is out here thriving. The jealousy is radiating off the page at this point. The Fire Rain Sword sect is pulling the ultimate Karen move. They are demanding disciplinary action because our boy stole their secret sword technique. They even put the guy who taught him on lockdown. Talk about petty. The sword demon, Wai Hyakun, is leading the charge to make sure Yunseal never touches a sword again. They want to test him just to find an excuse to ruin his career. The audacity of these boomers is unreal. While the masters are arguing about how ridiculous these demands are, our boy is still out there practicing. Little do they know, he is basically a human satellite dish listening to every single word they say.
Yunseal casually strolls up and reveals he used the chi vibration mind's eye to eavesdrop.
The masters are stunned because he was multitasking his movement techniques and high-level sensory skills at the same time. Squad leader Baekhyun drops a bombshell proposal. He wants to send Yunseal straight to the Demon Palace for an official test to shut these sects up once and for all. It is a high-stakes gamble with our boy's life on the line. The masters are still processing how he used the vibrations of the water to maximize his senses.
The kid is a literal genius, and even the vice master is starting to realize they are holding a ticking time bomb.
Baekhyun is basically like, why don't we just trust him? He knows the sects are aiming to kill the kid, but he also knows our MC is built different. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a sword. The Demon Palace is the setting for the test because it looks better for their image.
They think they can kill a kid and get away with it if it is all official. These villains are really out here playing 4D chess with the monster.
RMC does not even hesitate. He accepts the challenge voluntarily because he refuses to dodge a fight. He knows they won't kill him openly because it would make their image even worse. Big brain energy right here. He is walking into the lion's den with total confidence. He tells them straight up that he is a disciple of the Wandering Beast Pavilion and he is not running away from anyone. The hype is officially off the charts. The Vice Master finally gives the green light, but only if the other sects promise to drop their grudge if he passes. It is a one-and-done deal. Our boy is ready to go from local Mortician to a full-blown Murim legend. We see him heading toward the all-encompassing pavilion, the brain center of the Demon Palace. He is reflecting on how far he has come, and the atmosphere is getting heavy. This is where the real games begin. He steps inside the pavilion to find out what kind of nightmare test they have planned for him. The security is tight, the vibes are dark, and the stakes could not be any higher. Just as he enters, he stops dead in his tracks. There is someone waiting for him who looks incredibly familiar, and our boy's face says it all. Who is this mystery person? We are ending on a massive cliffhanger.
You really think walking into the lion's den with that much swagger is a good idea?
Yunseal shows up at the all-encompassing pavilion and the big boss, Baek Jeonchan, immediately clocks that his energy is way higher than the rumors said. This old man is already eyeing him like a snack. Time for a quick lore dump because the Murim is a literal mess. The Demon Palace is just a group project made by the 10 demonic sects, but they actually hate each other's guts and constantly maintain totally different agendas. It gets even more scandalous because the former palace master wasn't even part of the Cool Kids Club, and half these demonic sects would rather see the palace burn to the ground than offer a helping hand. Beck spills the tea that the whole 10 Demon Masters plan was just a fancy cover story to train elite hitmen. Their only job? Taking out the high-ranking members of the Orthodox Murim Alliance. Talk about a toxic career path.
And since Yunseal basically deleted their prized disciples during the competition, the sects are out for blood.
Beck is essentially saying, "Hey kid, thanks for the body count, now every powerful psycho in the Murim wants you dead." So now the palace has to play nice and give Yunseal a special exam. It is a total scam designed to punish him while making the vengeful sects feel like justice is being served. Our boy just takes it on the chin like a champ.
Yunseal is headed for the 10,000 Demonic Truth Pavilion.
This is the ultimate martial arts archive of the palace, and it is usually strictly off-limits for a random kid like him. He gets handed the Golden 8 plaque. This shiny little toy is his golden ticket to the first floor. It looks fancy, but in this world, a gift usually comes with a death warrant attached. But here is the catch. The pavilion master admits there is a 0% chance of passing if he gets distracted. The real test is a nightmare where he has to survive 5 direct hits from a master chosen by the White Demon Temple. No dodging allowed. Apparently, the head instructor even quit his job just to make sure Yunseal could take the suicide mission. Beck hands over the plaque and basically tells the kid to try not to die too quickly. As he is walking out, he bumps into Instructor Jean. This guy is always lurking around like a suspicious NPC, but it turns out he has been keeping some major secrets from our protagonist. Jean reveals he was the one secretly playing substitute teacher for the pavilion master back on Hell Island.
No wonder he has been acting so shady this whole time.
He is way more involved in this mess than he let on.
He drops some cryptic wisdom, telling Yunseal that in the Jianghu, nobody does a kind deed for free.
Every smile hides a dagger and every gift is just a trap waiting to be sprung.
Jean tells him to find the opportunity hidden inside the danger.
He reminds him that all great trees must grow from their original roots.
Translation: do not get distracted by the shiny high-tier garbage, kid.
Yunseal finally enters the Truth Pavilion and the place is absolutely massive.
It looks like a librarian's dream but a warrior's nightmare.
The scale of this place is enough to make anyone lose their mind. He quickly realizes that trying to learn 1,000 secret moves in one day is a brain-dead move.
His enemies are literally counting on him to waste his mental energy and lose his concentration before the big fight. Recalling Jin's words about roots, he decides to ignore the shiny forbidden techniques. He starts searching for something specifically tied to his own home, the Wandering Beast Pavilion. He starts scanning the shelves like a man possessed. He knows the clock is ticking and the master from the White Demon Temple is already warming up to turn him into a pancake. And boom! He finds it hidden among the stacks. A dusty manual for a technique called the Wandering Beast Reversal. Finally, some real power in this library of lies. He opens the book and his eyes practically pop out of his head. Whatever is written in there is a total game changer. The look on his face says the vengeful sects are about to have a very, very bad day. Welcome to the Day of Judgment at the Demon Palace, where our boy Yunseal is about to find out if he is the main character or just another sacrifice to the plot gods. He is walking into the great training hall with everyone watching, and the tension is high enough to cut with a dull butter knife. Look at this lineup of ancient fossils and martial masters acting like they are the ultimate authority.
We have got Gyobong, the former martial master known as the Heaven-Shaking Blood Hand, and a bunch of other leaders who probably have not touched grass in decades.
The introductions keep coming with the secret shadow unit leader Yu Unsong and Nung Gak from the Profound Mystery Hall. These guys are all high-tier powerhouses, and they are not here to give Yunseal a participation trophy. The deal is simple but totally rigged. If Yunseal can survive 5 direct moves from a high-ranking master, these sects promise to stop acting like bitter exes and let the past stay in the past.
It sounds fair until you realize who is throwing the punches.
Yunseal accepts the challenge because he does not really have a choice, but he is already feeling the pressure. Standing across from a master who could probably end him with a sneeze is not exactly a fun Saturday morning activity. But wait, our master Go Gunpyeong is a total snake. He is secretly planning to maim the kid by severing his arms on the very last strike.
He wants to make sure Yunseal never reaches his full potential, proving that the old generation is just as petty as we thought.
The fight kicks off instantly with the first move, White Demon Heart Seizure.
Gunpyeong moves with the kind of speed that makes you wonder if he is cheating, and Yunseal can barely keep track of where the attack is even coming from.
Our protagonist manages to endure the opening gambit, but the master is just getting warmed up. Gunpyeong is actually impressed for a split second before shifting gears into the second move, Descent of the White Demon Spirit. This second technique is a classic bait-and switch that utilizes a deceptive fake move. Yunseal is sweating bullets trying to differentiate between the real threat and the distraction, realizing that one wrong move means game over. Somehow, he sees through the illusion and survives the second strike. He is definitely showing off that he has learned the wild beast path, but the master warns him that the real nightmare is only just beginning. Things get really messy with the third move, White Demon Chaotic Shadow. It is basically a hall of mirrors made of pure violence, creating a blur of images that makes it impossible to distinguish which version of the old man is about to end your career.
Yunseal realizes he cannot tell what is real and what is fake, so he decides to just dodge everything.
Relying on his swift phantom agility, he dances through the onslaught while the ground beneath him gets absolutely pulverized.
He barely escapes the third move, huffing and puffing with blood on his face.
He admits to himself that if this was a real death match instead of a test, he would already be looking at his own funeral right now. Gunpyeong is getting frustrated that the easy target is still breathing, so he charges up move number 4, White Demon Heart Strike. This technique is known for being nearly unavoidable, essentially a lethal execution disguised as a test. Facing certain death, Yunseal has a big brain moment. He recalls that secret manual he found that spent half its pages roasting the wandering beast path for having fatal flaws and being too predictable.
The manual basically called the disciples of the Wandering Beast Pavilion idiots for thinking they had 10 lives.
It explained that moving purely on instinct is what animals do, and a true master needs to actually use their brain.
He realizes he has been acting like a rabid animal this whole time.
The key is to only amplify his senses at the exact moment of impact rather than staying in beast mode constantly, which just burns energy and makes him an easy target. Applying this new wisdom, Yunseal enters a state of total focus. He is no longer just reacting, he is predicting. The visual style shifts as he prepares to pull off the ultimate no-you against the master's unavoidable strike. Boom! Yunseal shocks every single person in the training hall by successfully dodging the White Demon Heart Strike. Even the veteran masters of the White Demon Temple struggle to evade that one, and here is a kid doing it like it is a casual stroll. Gunpyeong's internal monologue goes full villain mode.
He realizes that Yunseal is a massive future threat that needs to be deleted immediately.
He sees why the two sects are working together to kill this kid, he is just too dangerous. The master decides to stop playing around and unleashes the final fifth move, White Demon Divine Serpent. This is the big guns, a technique meant to ensure that the target does not just lose the fight, but loses their life.
Yunseal is left in a state of pure panic as he realizes this ultimate weapon has a mind of its own.
It is not just a swing, it is a heat-seeking missile that is relentlessly chasing him through the air, and there is nowhere left to hide. The weapon is literally hunting him down, twisting and turning to follow his every move. Our boy is running for his life, and surviving this final strike just became the hardest mission of his entire existence. Can he make it, or is this the end of the road? Imagine being so talented that even weapons start catching feelings, and not the good kind.
Yunseal realizes the Demon Divine Serpent isn't just a fancy blade. It's a sentient stalker that won't stop until it tastes blood.
Talk about a toxic relationship. Our boy is literally running for his life, but this homing missile of a sword is closing the gap fast.
He realizes dodging is off the table, so it's time to stop playing runner and start playing tank before he ends up as a human kebab.
He decides to bet his entire life savings on one move, pouring every drop of his remaining energy into the unrivaled lightning and thunder technique. If this doesn't work, his next stop is a coffin, and he knows it. The collision is absolutely mental. It's a miracle the entire building didn't just disintegrate. Yunseal meets the strike head-on with enough force to make a god blink, proving that plot armor is the strongest material in the Murim. The price for survival is steep, though. His blade is shattered into toothpicks and his arm looks like it went through a meat grinder.
Most people would be crying for their mama, but Yunseal is just standing there like an absolute unit.
Even with a destroyed limb and blood leaking everywhere, his eyes say, "Is that all you got?"
His will to fight is so intense it's actually getting creepy, and the onlookers are starting to realize this kid is built different. Grandmaster Go Gunpyeong is officially losing his mind.
He's looking at this battered kid and seeing a future monster that'll probably steal his lunch money and his title. The hater energy is reaching critical levels right now. The old man decides that Yunseal is way too dangerous to be left alive. He's ready to ignore all the rules and finish the job right here, showing us that grandmasters are often just high-level Karens with swords. Hold your horses, old man.
The white-haired master steps in to remind everyone that the 5 promise moves are officially over.
Gunpyeong is fuming because his legal murder window just slammed shut on his fingers. Gunpyeong tries to pull a well, actually, and nullify the test because Yunseal used a forbidden technique. It's the classic move of a sore loser trying to change the rules of the game after they already lost. The other masters aren't having it. They point out there were 0 restrictions on his style. Basically, they're telling the Grandmaster to stop coping and admit the kid outplayed his entire temple's legacy. The shade being thrown is legendary. They argue that Yunseal's success proves the Fire Rain Sword sect is actually superior to the White Demon Temple. This isn't just a test anymore, it's a full-blown political roast session. To prevent a total sect war and save face, the bigwigs decide to keep this embarrassment a secret. Yunseal officially gets his status back as one of the 10 demon masters and finally gets the legal right to carry a sword. With the drama settled and his goals achieved, Yunseal's body finally remembers it's supposed to be in shock. He collapses like a sack of potatoes, leaving the masters to deal with the mess he just made of their courtyard. Our protagonist wakes up in a room so fancy it makes his previous life look like a dumpster.
He's totally confused, wondering if he passed the test, or if he's just hallucinating in a very expensive bed.
He tries to piece together the blurry memories of the fight while checking if all his bits and pieces are still attached.
He realizes he's been out for a while, but the luxury surrounding him suggests he's no longer a social pariah.
Yunseal starts circulating his chi and nearly has a heart attack. His body is overflowing with a massive amount of true chi. It's like he went to sleep a peasant and woke up with a billionaire's energy bank account. Turns out, the near-death experience was actually a high-speed evolution. The extreme pressure of the test forced his latent acupoint to pop open, giving him a massive permanent buff that most cultivators would kill for. He's officially hit the 3rd level of his cultivation, reaching the realm of reverse polarity fiery light. He's now basically immune to extreme cold and heat chi, which is a major get-out-of-jail-free card in the Murim world. A servant named Jean Seol enters and drops a bombshell. He's staying in the Demon Gathering Pavilion. This isn't just any guest house, it's the personal residence of the Elder Pavilion Master. Talk about an upgrade.
The master of the house is none other than the Blood Demon himself.
We're talking about a guy at the absolute peak of martial prowess, one of the legendary 3 demons.
Yunseal realizes he's playing in the big leagues now.
Jean Seol escorts our recovering warrior toward the inner hall for a face-to-face meeting with the legend.
Yunseal is nervous, but let's be real. After surviving a sentient serpent sword, a chat with a blood demon is just another Tuesday. Imagine walking into a literal paradise hidden away from a world that usually smells like old blood and bad decisions.
Yoonseol finds himself in this magnificent garden, probably wondering if he finally kicked the bucket and went to the good place.
But the peace is short-lived because he is greeted by the elder pavilion master, Jikbung. This old man is just chilling with some tea, congratulating our boy for passing those insane tests from the elite sex like it was just a walk in the park. Yoonseol is being all humble, sipping tea and trying not to look like a total amateur. The elder is playing the nice grandpa role for now, but we all know that in these stories, the nicer the old man looks, the more bodies he has buried in his backyard. And bingo, the masks come off.
This serene-looking Taoist is actually the infamous blood demon.
This is the guy who spent his youth turning the Jianghu into a literal Red Sea, slaughtering countless masters while looking like he was just out for a morning stroll. The elder starts scanning Yoonseol like a human X-ray, noting that his body is freakishly flexible. He is impressed that a guy who started his martial arts journey late has an internal energy foundation that is actually solid instead of being a total mess. Yoonseol drops the most bizarre flex ever, explaining that his unique physique comes from his days as a mortician. While other kids were playing tag, he was lying in coffins, practicing how to breathe like a corpse. Talk about a weird childhood hobby that actually paid off. Here comes the golden ticket offer. Jikbung wants Yoonseol to skip the line and join the Dark Heaven squad after his training. This is the fast track to becoming a top-tier boss in the Demon Palace, basically a VIP pass to ultimate power and influence. Most people would be kissing the floor in gratitude, but Yoonseol is built different.
He looks the blood demon right in the eye and says thanks, but no thanks.
He is actually rejecting the most prestigious offer in the entire palace without blinking. Our boy explains that if his future is already guaranteed, he will become a lazy simp for comfort. He needs that life-or-death edge to actually master his martial arts, proving he is a true grind-set enthusiast who refuses to take the easy way out. Jikbung is absolutely floored by this display of pure martial spirit. Instead of being offended, he lets out a laugh so powerful it literally sends a physical shockwave through the air. If you needed proof this old man is a monster, there it is. The internal energy in that laughter is literally twisting Yoonseol's insides.
It is a subtle reminder that while they are having tea, the elder could delete him from existence with a single sneeze.
This is peak power scaling intimidation right here. The elder agrees to let him go, promising to watch his growth from the shadows for the next 3 years. Yoonseol bows out, probably feeling like he just escaped a hungry tiger's den while carrying a steak in his pocket. As he walks away, that lingering chill doesn't leave him.
He realizes that surviving a conversation with the blood demon was actually more terrifying than the grueling exams he just finished.
One wrong word and he would have been part of the garden fertilizer. RMC is literally huffing for air, realizing he was just a tiny pawn in the palm of a giant. It is a massive reality check that no matter how much he improves, there is always a bigger, scarier monster waiting to test his resolve. He wanders into a peaceful urban area, looking at the regular people living their simple lives. For a second, he gets hit with a wave of melancholy, realizing he has strayed so far from the normal life he once wanted. There is no going back to being a simple mortician now. The peaceful scenery feels rare and almost fake to him. He is too deep in the world of shadows and steel. Just as he is getting all emotional, his sharpened senses kick in. The piece was just a commercial break, and the action is about to return.
He realizes some clown is actually following him. Yoonseol knows he is vulnerable without a weapon, so he tries to stay calm while the predator in the shadows thinks they are being slick.
Too bad for them, our boy is always one step ahead. He stops at a local blacksmith and buys a cheap practice sword for 5 niang. It is basically a glorified stick, but in the hands of a demon master, even a toothpick can become a weapon of mass destruction. He is ready to greet his uninvited guest. Yoonseol leads the tale to a quiet area and tells them to stop hiding.
He is standing there looking like a total boss, waiting for the masked loser to reveal themselves and explain why they are so thirsty for his blood.
A group of masked assassins surrounds him, proving that being a talented rookie makes you a massive target for every hater in the Murim.
They think they have him cornered just because they have the numbers.
Cute. The leader reveals their murderous intent, vowing to kill the young demon master before he can even finish his training.
Little do they know, Yoon Seal has survived a blood demon's tea party today. So these guys are basically just a warm-up.
You would think these generic NPCs would know when to run, but nope, they really chose death today.
Our boy Yunseal tries to be the bigger person by giving these stalkers a fair warning to just pack up and leave, but they have the audacity to laugh in his face. Imagine having the main character tell you to put your sword away for your own safety and your first response is to get into a formation.
These Wudong sect guys are really high on their own supply, thinking they actually have his life in the palm of their hands.
The teamwork is actually decent for once, with perfectly synchronized strikes that prove they did not just get their licenses from a cereal box. They launch a relentless wave of attacks, trying to overwhelm Yunseal with pure coordination and zero room to breathe. Yunseal is feeling the pressure as their blades chain together without a single rest in between. It is a classic move where the weak group up to take down the strong, but they forgot one tiny detail: they are fighting a literal monster in human skin. Time for a reality check. Yunseal activates the wild beast path, seeing right through their flashy teamwork to reveal the massive skill gaps between them. It turns out that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and these links are looking pretty fragile. With one clean move, the young demon master shatters the Wudong sect's ultimate sword formation like it is made of glass.
The look of pure horror on their faces is top-tier satisfaction, as their invincible strategy turns into a bloody mess in seconds.
The attackers are absolutely losing it now, wondering if the Demon Palace has been gatekeeping secret anti-orthodox techniques. Yunseal just stands there looking bored, reminding them that switching formations is useless when you are fundamentally just too weak to keep up. These guys realized they were fed some seriously bad intel because they were told Yunseal had not mastered any great sword techniques yet.
Too bad for them, because what he is doing right now is not even formal martial arts, it is just his raw instinct to survive. Our protagonist decides to drop some cold hard facts while their lives are literally on the line.
He points out that they are losing because they were too busy acting like predators to realize they had stepped into the territory of a much bigger beast.
The predator-prey dynamic just did a full 180, and the hunters are officially the ones being hunted. Seeing their buddies get turned into mincemeat, some of the warriors actually have the common sense to suggest a retreat before they all end up as fertilizer. But of course, their leader is a total simp for his own ego, refusing to fall back because of his precious honor. He would rather have his entire squad die with their backs to the enemy than admit they got absolutely smoked by a teenager. Yunseal is not here for the motivational speeches and mocks the idea of dying for abstract glory.
He shuts the leader down with the ultimate truth bomb: you cannot exactly bring your honor with you when you are lying inside a coffin.
It is time for the grand finale as Yunseal channels the unrivaled lightning and thunder techniques. The entire battlefield turns into a high-voltage execution zone as he zips through their ranks, leaving nothing but scorched earth and regret behind.
The sheer speed of the assault is insane, and the attackers do not even have time to scream before their throats are opened.
This is not a fight anymore, it is a one-sided slaughterhouse where the Wudong sect elite are being deleted from existence. As the leader takes his final breath, he uses his last bit of energy to curse Yunseal, calling him a heartless demon. Our boy does not even blink, watching the last of his enemies fall in a scene that is basically a crimson painting of his own making.
Standing in a field of corpses, Yunseal gets a grim reminder that his life is basically a permanent tour of hell.
Even after leaving Hell Island, the cycle of resentment and blood follows him like a shadow, and he is the one holding the bloody brush.
He stoically accepts this carnage as the heavy price of his karma, knowing that the path of absolute revenge was never going to be pretty. He is not a hero, and he is definitely not a saint, he is just a man doing whatever it takes to bury his enemies. Just as the silence starts to settle over the bodies, squad leader Baekhyun drops in out of nowhere to witness the absolute devastation.
He looks at the blood-soaked kid and the mountain of corpses, realizing that Yunseal is even more dangerous than anyone imagined.
Squad leader Baekhyun finally tracks down our boy Yunseal, and honestly, the vibes are immaculate but totally cursed. He admits that finding the kid was easy, but you can tell he is already questioning why this literal child is walking around like a grim reaper in training. Baekhyun notices a heavy scent of death lingering around Yunseal that is impossible to ignore.
He realizes the boy has been through a literal bloodbath, and even though he acknowledges the kid's strength, he can tell this path is going to be a total nightmare.
The scene shifts back to the Wandering Beast Pavilion where things are supposed to be chill, but we all know that is a lie. They head inside to report their findings, likely to someone who is actually in charge of this circus. We meet the Vice Master, who looks way too relaxed for someone in a demonic cult.
He is all smiles and tea, telling Yunseal how proud he is of the kid's performance, which is a total red flag in this world if you ask me.
Yunseal casually drops the bomb that he was treated at the Elder Pavilion Master's residence, and Baekhyun nearly chokes. The look of pure shock on his face is priceless because making contact with a legendary monster like that is usually a one-way trip to the afterlife.
Baekhyun finally connects the dots and realizes that the blood demon, Jeokbung, is the real reason those other sects gave up their beef so easily.
It turns out having a walking nuke in your corner makes people real polite real fast. Time for a quick history lesson on why the Demon Palace is a total mess. It is basically a three-way power struggle between the Palace Master, the 10 demonic sects, and the Elder Pavilion, and our boy is right in the middle of this toxic sandwich. The Elder Pavilion is the real threat here because it is packed with retired martial monsters from the previous generation. Jeokbung has been secretly building his own army, and you just know he is not doing it for charity. Yunseal stops the small talk to report that he was actually ambushed by the Murim Alliance. The Vice Master loses his cool for a second, dropping his cup because the Orthodox side playing dirty is a major escalation.
They realized the attackers were specifically from the General Strategist's subordinate squad.
It is officially open season on Yunseal, and the supposedly good guys of the Murim Alliance are leading the charge. Baekhyun deduces that the Orthodox factions are trying to pull a Weed the Garden move. They heard the rumors about Yunseal's insane talent and decided to kill him now before he grows up to be their worst nightmare. They are literally trying to pluck the sprout before it becomes a tree. It is a classic kill the protagonist trope, but unfortunately for them, this kid is built different and does not know how to die. Realizing he is being hunted by everyone, Yunseal decides he needs a power-up immediately. He requests to join the founding Divine Squad, which is basically the pavilion's elite group of ruthless killers who handle the dirty work. Baekhyun is absolutely horrified by the idea because that squad is full of the most aggressive psychos in the pavilion. He warns the kid that the leader, Sojan, is a total loose cannon with a temper that would make a dragon look calm.
This woman is so unhinged that she has literally killed her own disciples during training if she thought they were too weak.
She calls it a test, but we all know it is just an excuse for her to go on a rampage. Surprisingly, the Vice Master sides with the kid and decides to trust his confidence. He assigns Yunseal as a temporary member for the next mission to Wine Thunder Valley, which sounds like a great place to get struck by lightning or stabbed. Baekhyun is still skeptical, but he cannot argue with the boss. The Vice Master is clearly playing a long game here, betting everything on the kid's survival while the squad leader just worries about the upcoming funeral. We jump to the 1,000 successes in where Sojan is currently busy being a menace. When she hears she has to take a kid to Wind Thunder Valley, she flips the table and asks if she looks like a literal babysitter. Meet Sojan, the woman with a scar on her face and enough tattoos to let you know she does not do paperwork. She is ready to march over and tell the Vice Master exactly where he can shove his orders. Her rant is cut short when she is shown the Heavenly Wolf plaque.
It is basically the Vice Master's shut up and obey token, and seeing it makes her realize that this is not a request, it is a direct command from the top.
Baekhyun tries to tell her that Yunseal is not a normal kid and that he already cleared tests from 2 other major sects.
Sojan just scoffs and drinks her tea, convinced that the higher-ups have finally lost their minds.
She agrees to take him, but she is definitely not going to be nice about it. She promises to personally test the kid to see if he is actually worthy or if he is just another overhyped brat waiting to be crushed. The chapter ends with a terrifying glimpse of her murderous intent. She is skeptical of all the high praise and is ready to show Yunseal that the founding Divine Squad is a literal living hell, and I honestly cannot wait to see him prove her wrong. Welcome to the Wind Thunder Valley, a place so toxic even the unorthodox Murim wants nothing to do with it. These psychos specialize in body modification and heresy, fueling their weird experiments with human trafficking. If you were looking for a red flag sect, you found the headquarters. This place is a literal natural fortress gifted by the gods, or maybe the devil, because the terrain is basically a giant middle finger to anyone trying to invade. The founding divine squad is standing at the edge, realizing the valley is way wider and more intimidating than the brochures promised. The real party pooper here isn't just the height, it is the wind. It is blowing hard enough to turn anyone into a human kite. Plus, there are guards waiting in the shadows like campers in a shooter, ready to cut the bridge cables the second they see a shadow move.
Our lovely leader Sojourn is already losing her mind.
She is complaining about having to babysit a young trainee like Yunseal while on a suicide mission.
Meanwhile, Vice Leader Jae-woon is looking all cool and composed, probably wondering if he should have called in sick today.
Jae-woon decides to show off a little bit of his blade work. He is moving with that professional energy that says, "I know I am better than you." It is clean, it is sharp, and it is exactly what you expect from a high-ranking squad member trying to keep the vibes from crashing. Yunseal isn't just standing there looking pretty, though. He is analyzing Jae-woon's body blade union skill like a total nerd.
He recognizes it from the Fire Rain Sword sect and realizes these guys aren't just talk.
But even with all that skill, the bridge is still a giant death trap waiting to happen. So John decides to be the ultimate toxic boss and tells Yunseal to cross the bridge first. Basically, she is using the kid as a canary in a coal mine. If he falls or gets sliced, at least the pros know where the traps are. Talk about a warm welcome to the team. Our boy Yunseal steps onto the bridge and immediately feels the wind trying to yeet him into the abyss.
He realizes that walking normally is a one-way ticket to the bottom, so he prepares to flex his internal energy.
It is time for some high-level absorption techniques. He literally anchors his feet to the bridge like he has magnets in his boots. The squad is watching from the sidelines, low-key impressed that the kid has this much internal energy. Even so, John is struggling to find a reason to roast him right now, though you know she is trying. Suddenly, the dangerous sound trope kicks in. A trap is triggered, and the bridge turns into a meat grinder.
Most people would have just accepted their fate and died, but Yunseal's survival instincts are built different.
He sees the mechanism moving and knows he has a split second to react. He hits the ladder to heaven technique, which is basically double jumping in real life. He kicks off his own foot in midair to dodge the initial strike.
It is the kind of move that makes physics cry, but in a Murim world, it is just another Tuesday for a main character.
The enemy was actually smart for once. They anticipated someone would jump to avoid the floor trap, so they set up a secondary strike to catch him while he was vulnerable in the air.
Jae-woon and the others are watching with their jaws on the floor, thinking the kid is cooked for sure.
But wait, there is more. Yunseal isn't done flexing.
He realizes the air itself is a trap, but his agility is on a whole different level.
He is twisting and turning in the sky like he is in a slow-motion action movie, dodging blades that should have turned him into confetti. So John is actually starting to look worried, which is a miracle.
She thinks there is no way he can avoid the next wave of attacks.
The visuals go full red and black drama mode as the traps close in, making it look like the end of the line for our trainee hero. Psych. He triggers the Swift Phantom technique. He moves so fast he basically becomes a blur, leaving the traps to strike nothing but thin air.
If you ever wondered what peak performance looks like, this is it.
He lands on the other side like it was nothing but a light jog. The guards at the building don't even know what hit them.
Yunseal clears the distance and enters the guard post, taking out the guys responsible for the bridge traps before they can even scream for help.
He is a one-man army disguised as a trainee and the squad is still processing the shock. He finds the main control room and spots a giant wooden lever. This is the heart of the bridge's defense system. Most people would look for a key or a code, but Yunseal just grabs the thing with that "I am the captain now" energy. With a massive crunch, he jams the gears and deactivates the entire trap network. The bridge stops shaking, the blades retract, and the path is finally clear. He stands there at the edge of the cliff, waving back at his superiors like he didn't just survive a localized apocalypse. He casually calls out to the squad that the path is safe now. The seasoned warriors are staring at him like he is a literal monster. They just watched a kid pull off high-tier skills that would kill most masters, and now they have to admit that their babysitting mission just turned into a please don't kill us situation. Imagine being so talented that the vice leader himself can't stop glazing your footwork. Jae-woon is actually impressed because our boy Yoonseol is moving like a literal ghost in these caves. So John is the ultimate hater, straight up telling Jae-woon to stop the unnecessary praise. She is convinced Yoonseol is just a walking red flag who is worth absolutely nothing to the squad. The group finally reaches their destination, but it is not exactly a vacation spot. It is a massive underground lake that looks peaceful but is actually a one-way ticket to the afterlife. This lake is the secret back door to Wine Thunder Valley, but there is a catch.
It is filled with ice essences, and if you think your local pool is cold, this thing can freeze a whole well with just a handful of water.
Crossing this thing is basically a death sentence for anyone without insane energy.
You have to burn through your internal reserves for 15 straight minutes, just to keep your blood from turning into slushes.
Jae-woon tries to be the responsible adult for once, telling Yoonseol to sit this one out. He basically says that attempting this at his age is just a fancy way of committing suicide. Does Yoonseol listen? Of course not. He gives the squad a cold look and says he has no business being here if he is scared of a little frostbite. He dives in headfirst like a complete absolute unit.
Underwater, the place looks like a beautiful nightmare filled with massive ice crystals.
The pressure is insane, and the cold is enough to shatter regular steel, but our protagonist is just getting started.
While the seasoned veterans are struggling and gasping for air, Yoonseol is just vibing.
He notices the others are suffering big time, their internal energy barely holding back the freezing depths. Then comes the ultimate flex.
Yoonseol realizes something is very wrong because he doesn't feel the cold at all.
Most people would be panicking, but he is just confused why everyone else is dying.
It turns out our boy reached the realm of invulnerability to fire and water recently. He is basically a walking thermostat now, and the legendary ice essence is nothing more than a refreshing bath to him. He swims through the tunnel like it is a Sunday morning dip in the park. While the others are fighting for every inch, he is just cruising through the darkness without breaking a sweat. When they finally surface, the scene is hilarious. The elite masters are all collapsed on the ground, desperately circulating their chi just to stop their hearts from stopping. Then there is Yoonseol, standing there looking like he just stepped out of a spa. The veterans are staring at him like he is some kind of alien, unable to process how a trainee is this relaxed.
She rallies the squad, screaming that it is time to show off the power of the founding divine squad.
They are heading straight into the dragon's den, and things are about to get very bloody.
Suddenly, the party is crashed by some truly disgusting-looking dudes. These are power-seizing demons, and they look like they have been hitting the gym and the pharmacy way too hard. These monsters are hopped up on drugs and physical enhancements.
They don't feel pain, they don't feel fear, and they definitely don't have any dental insurance given how much they are screaming.
The battle turns into a total meat grinder immediately.
Blood is flying everywhere, but these demons just keep coming back for more even after getting sliced and diced.
Yoonseol stands back and watches the chaos, analyzing their movements.
He realizes these guys are basically zombies with martial arts, attacking relentlessly no matter how many limbs they lose. So John sees Yoonseol just standing there and loses her mind.
She screams at him for being in the way and tells him to get his useless self to the back of the formation before he gets eaten.
But our boy isn't just standing there being a simp. He is using this life-or-death chaos as a front-row seat to the greatest martial arts show on earth. He is watching the masters move, memorizing every strike and every breath. While the demons are dying, Yoonseol is busy being the ultimate copycat, planning to steal their techniques and make them his own. The kid is playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing a survival horror game. He is going to walk out of this valley with a whole new arsenal, and the squad won't even see it coming.